All right, are we live? Let's see. Let's see the live chat. Hey, everyone, welcome to another episode of Tone Talks Geopolitics, but names his channel about Bitcoin trading to potentially avoid getting banned by YouTube. Oh, wait, I have the wrong background. Well, the financial summit is happening in the Maldives in 11 months from now. So get your rooms quickly. But for the purposes of this video, the proper background is this. Oh, no, wait, that's Ukraine. That might not exist soon. No, wait, wrong background. It's, of course, this. One more country that may not exist after a decade. And everyone is afraid that Europe will be, of course, taken over by these guys. But ideally, we all end up over here. As far away from the crazy planet where everybody wants to kill each other as far as possible. All right, let's get on with the show. Zemelik asks, Tone, did you see Scott Ritter talk about Iran's missile strikes? You have to be more specific, right? So the only place that I watched Scott Ritter is on Judge Napolitano's channel. And I have not seen any episodes from Judge Napolitano's channel this week. So if you're talking about Scott Ritter's appearance on Judge Napolitano last week, yes, I did see that episode either this morning or yesterday. So I have my off-topic group chat. I asked if anybody from that channel, that's where we all talk conspiracy theories and stuff. I asked if anybody from that channel was to join me on the show today. Like, I get bored doing these myself and keeping an eye on your live chat, so I can always use a co-host. So if it's someone that I know, like, I'm not going to send a Zoom link to a total stranger. But if it's someone that I know that wants to join me here, hey, Winston, how are you, buddy? I still haven't posted any of our crazy adventures in Roton. All right, what am I going to open here? I need to open this. There we go. Okay, so first things first, while people trickle in to listen to politics, can I look at the Mexican peso? You know what? I'm going to go to my QA chat. I got to post some of these questions. Winston, you're in my Q&A chat, right? Are you? Yeah, you're there. Can you post some of these questions into the QA chat? Mel is here as well, or the unconfiscatable handle. Can you guys throw the Mexican peso question in there? Tone, what are the chances of the conflict escalating higher and why Israel wanted to do it? Great question. We will talk about that. I think it's going to escalate greatly. And Iran is not the culprit here. It's not going to be Iran's fault. It's Iran, however people say it. It's going to be Israel. And maybe even the US by default. There are so many theories here to unravel. Let's look at the charts, and then we're going to get into it completely. By the way, no one gives a shit about Ukraine anymore. Ukraine is not in the news. Ukraine is not in the papers. If Israel strikes at Iran one more time, you will never hear the word Ukraine again. Like it's like it never existed. Like those Malaysian flights that disappeared and like they never happened. If that happens one more time, that's it. No one will ever speak of Ukraine again. Will 60,000 hold? I hope it holds. I don't think it's about oil anymore. US has so much oil. I don't think it's about oil anymore. Also, I think people are realizing that oil is not a precious resource. I think people are realizing that oil, like, is just a naturally abundant liquid. And there's plenty of oil. We're not going to run out of oil. It's I think people are realizing that we've been fed bullshit about oil for so long, and there is no peak oil. And oil didn't come from decaying dinosaurs. You should look that up, guys. Talk about the bullshit they teach you in geology classes. And I have a degree in geology, for God's sakes. What do you think about Russia? Well, that's a very open-ended question. Okay, I'm also watching the Laker versus New Orleans game. If you wanna go down the real conspiracy rabbit hole, way bigger than the Rockefellers and the Federal Reserve, you want to go down a real conspiracy rabbit hole, go look into how many foul calls the Lakers get versus every other team the last 3 years. You will be absolutely amazed at the discrepancy in the number of fouls that Laker uniforms get versus the rest of the league. It's like it's an anomaly of like biblical proportions statistically. If anyone here is a basketball fan, I know Wilson is. I don't know if Wilson is watching. I'm not into UFC. I was into boxing. I used to watch all boxing fights. Never get into NFC. Oh, not Russia. Hold on. What do I think of what runes? I don't know what runes are. Just I saw the capital R. I assumed it was Russia. No, they should. No. The NBA referees should just wear Laker jerseys. I completely agree. All right, let's talk some charts, and then we're going to talk about the Laker foul call discrepancy. Yeah, guys, grab that question about how prepared USA is to fight Russia. Okay, this is the weekly chart. I have this halving line because the halving is on Thursday. Guys, I think I'm going to do like another 12-hour stream. I'll invite everybody I know. Whoa, what happened to my camera? What? It's moving by itself again? Hold on. I also want to complain about airlines some more. All right, there we go. There was like a purple heart blocking the question, Brian. Can you just copy paste it? Maybe. Actually, no, do screenshots. I like to know who asked the question. Okay, so the weekly chart looks very weak. We are on a red 2. We are close to a red star candle. Let's back up and see the last time we had a red star candle. I have good news for you guys. The last time we had the The last time we had a red star candle, it wasn't good. We went significantly lower, but the red candle happened in consolidation. The last time we had a red star candle happening in a downtrend, it created a low the following week and then rallied nicely. Same thing here, but there were still big drops. Look, as you guys know that watch the Financial Summit YouTube channel, I took a serious haircut on my position. And we did drop significantly lower later in the day. We've now rallied. We're still in an area of where I exited. So I am ready to lose money on this, consolidation. And I'll make up for it, on a straight rise to 90,000. Financial Summit will take place in the Maldives. I'm really upset. I am not going to get to go to the Maldives this week. I was supposed to go to the Maldives next week. I was supposed to be in Dubai right now. But between me canceling the flight because of the flight path and now they're having a flood of biblical proportions over there. I don't know if you guys seen the video. It is insane what's happening in Dubai. So additional flights got canceled in Dubai. And this is the flight that was supposed to take off last night. This is tonight's flight. This is the flight I'm like trying to take. I fly United because I have very high status with United, and I like keeping my high status with United, even though I know I'm putting my life in danger every time I set foot on a United flight. But sometimes, airline loyalty trumps safety. Am I still live, or my internet cut out? What's going on here? Something was off on my laptop. Okay, I'm good. So this is the flight from Newark, New Jersey. This is why I'm still stuck in New York. I'm still trying to find a way to get to Dubai, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Because between the two canceled flights, all the other flights are booked, and now it's like tens of thousands of dollars to fly there. Not tens of thousands, but like at least $10,000 business class, and even economy is like $2,000 now. So they changed the route. So that flight that I was supposed to be on, the flight that I was supposed to be on was supposed to fly, right here over the Black Sea. So the flight was going to go over the Black Sea, so putting you in potential danger of, Ukrainian false flag to get and blame it on Russia, like they did with the Malaysian Flight 17. Then it would fly over right here over Turkey, which is okay. I trust Turkey. But then it was going to fly over Syria, then over Iraq, and then over Iranian airspace and land in Dubai. That was the flight path, and I said, fuck no. So I canceled the flight, and then literally 2 hours after I canceled the flight, they changed the flight path to this, which is a significantly safer flight path. Now, let me explain why I know the odds are low. I know the odds are low, but I play poker and I'm a trader. Here's what scares me, and what I'm about to say is likely going to ban me from YouTube. So I'm going to just give it a heads up. What I am concerned about, I'm not concerned about Iran shutting down the plane by accident or on purpose. That's not my concern. Iran, the last thing Iran wants to do is shut down an American airliner. Now I'm going to say something that if you still follow this channel uh, and you're pro, Israel's genocide in Gaza, if that's your viewpoint, like I said, that's fine. You're welcome to, have an opinion on that. What scares me is Israel shutting down an American airliner and blaming it on Iran. And if you think I'm crazy, Israel has fired on American sea vessels before, killed people, and America didn't say anything. They just said, that's fine. Okay? So that's what scares me. What scares me is Israel pulling a Ukraine and creating a false flag, and the media helping Israel, accusing Iran of shutting down a flight with civilian passengers. And again, look at how World War I started. Pearl Harbor, I mean, the Japanese did attack. Yep, exactly, USS Liberty as well. That was the USS Liberty. That's the, I think that's the one Israelis shot up, and it was just an American vessel. So, they got these AI programs that are just out there killing people with their families. They wait for them to come home. And so anyway, so that's what I personally am scared of, that Israel would shut down a passenger flight and the world would blame Iran, and that would get America in a war with Iran. So I don't have too many conspiracy theories on the Twin Towers. I was a little bit too young for that stuff. I have my opinions. I mean, I have my opinions on that, but I didn't keep up with that situation like I am with these situations today. Okay, let's go quickly back to the charts. A daily chart. I like the rebound, but so far, unless Bitcoin recaptures the 50-period moving average, this is all consolidation at the bottom, and it's kind of irrelevant. I mean, it's good that we're not crashing, but unless it's going above the 50-period moving average, I'm not getting too excited. And short-term chart, when I started doing this stream, we were just above 62, or when I started putting the stream together. And earlier today, I saw 61, and I'm like, shit, that's not good. So on a short-term chart, until Bitcoin is above 66.5, it's nothing interesting's happening. Okay. Now, here's how the week ended for the ETFs. The ETFs lost 1,000 Bitcoin. Now, the majority of that, or all of that, was in GBTC. GBTC sold 11,000 Bitcoin. All the other ETFs either purchased Bitcoin or did not add Bitcoin. That's a good sign. Natural gas, another very abundant resource. I really thought it would go up, but I would stay away from natural gas. Oil, I'm expecting oil to rise, but even with this geopolitical instability, it's not rising. Oh, let's see if we have the latest oil number. Or maybe I already put it in the spreadsheet. Let's find out. Wait, why does this look different? What's happening here? They changed this. The latest number is on the 5th. Let's see my spreadsheet. What's my latest date? I have the 5th. I already pasted it in a few days ago. So the Biden administration continues to buy more oil. They've now bought almost 10 million barrels for the year, and I think they're going to sell them all closer to the election. Gold. This is a 5-minute chart of gold. The daily chart of gold still looks good. Tomorrow, not tomorrow, sorry. The day after tomorrow will be an MRI top because this is already tomorrow's candle. And on a weekly, we're on an MRI top. I would take my exit in gold and wait for another opportunity. S&P 500 continues to pull back, which is why I'm not that optimistic about Bitcoin. All right, time to talk No, wait, let's look at the mempool. All right, it's cranking out some blocks. When's the halving? I'm gonna try to do a stream. Let's see if people join it. I'll do my best. Let's see when the halving is. There was a website I really liked for that, but I don't know where it went. It doesn't rank very high in Google anymore, so.
Hey, Tony.
Oh, who just joined?
It's
Oh, shit.
Motorist.
Hey, motorist.
Hey. One thing that I wanted to, Mel sent me the link, so I just decided to jump on. But one of the things that I wanted to tell you regarding um, the airliner being shot down is that you said Israel. I would be more afraid that the United States would shoot down an airliner over the Persian Gulf because they did that in 1988. They shot down a civilian airliner that was in Iranian airspace that was taken off from Iran because they thought it was like an F-14 or something, even though you can't really confuse an airliner with an F-14. So not only, I would be more afraid of the U.S. shooting down an airliner flying over that region.
Uh, yeah, no, I wouldn't be concerned, right? Like I don't think US uh, would invade Iranian airspace again, right? They did that with a missile, but to kill that general during Trump's years, which I thought was totally stupid. And yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't think US would do it. I really think it would be Israel. But Israel is America's proxy, so it's really interesting. I do want to talk about this. Let me see when the halving is, so I know what my stream needs to be. Let's see. Let's look at this clock. What do we got? 2 days, 21 hours. April 19. Okay. All right. Got 2 days to go. So the Israel thing is really interesting. On a recent episode of Brian Baletic's podcast. By the way, I hope you guys watched the show with Sammy and Mike Williams, and then Sammy Loyal has his own show as well on the Financial Summit channel. So Brian Baletic of the New Atlas had some really interesting things to say on Israel-Ukraine. I actually just listened to this earlier today. I don't know if I can get the right part of it, but because it was a 30-minute video. It was here. Let me see. I'm going to put it at 2x. So if you're listening to me at 2x, you're going to have an issue.
Recently wrote an article for New Eastern Outlook. It is titled 2009 U.S. Policy Paper Planned Current Israeli-Iranian Tensions, and I wrote it right before Iran responded with multiple waves of drones and missiles, cruise missiles, ballistic missiles.
We're not going to go through a whole thing, but just listen for a minute.
Context, considering Iran has now retaliated against the April 1st, 2024 Israeli strike on the Iranian embassy in Damascus, Syria. So let's read this article that I wrote. I'll take a look at the sources that I cite, and I will add in additional information as we go along. So let's begin. Since October 7th, 2023, it would appear a spontaneous chain of events is leading the Middle East deeper and deeper into conflict. From Israel's ongoing military operations in Gaza, with strikes on Hezbollah and southern Lebanon, and repeated strikes across Syria, including the recent strike on Iran's embassy in Damascus, to the ongoing U.S.-led confrontation with Yemen and the Red Sea, it would appear that poor diplomacy is failing to prevent escalation and is instead leading to mounting tensions and a growing potential for wider war. Now, you can see just how much wider that potential war has become. In reality, almost verbatim, U.S.-Israeli diplomacy, or lack thereof, and military operations are following a carefully laid out policy described in the pages of the Brookings Institution's 2009 paper, Which Path to Persian Options for a New American Strategy for Iran. But the link to this will be in the video description below. Here is the cover. And
I'm going to slow it down, and I'm going to get some tea.
With this plan. They're simply writing a paper that reflects the consensus throughout Washington. These policymakers talk with the corporate financier interests that fund them. They talk to other think tanks and people in Washington, in Congress, at the Pentagon. This is the general consensus regarding U.S. policy toward Iran. They're simply writing it down to make it easier to create consensus across all of the various stakeholders, which does not include the American people, by the way. As a matter of fact, much of the paper involves how to dupe the American people and the global public into going along with otherwise unjustified U.S. foreign policy objectives. If you read this, it is essentially the playbook for U.S. policy toward Iran. The Brookings Institution is a Washington-based think tank funded by both the U.S. government and military, as well as the largest corporate financier interests across the collective West. And again, this will be in the video description below. Here's a 2020 disclosure of some of the largest contributors toward the Brookings Institution. You can see it's a combination of other corporate-funded foundations, large corporations. Facebook is there, Google is there, Northrop Grumman, arms manufacturer. If you search through here, you'll find Lockheed. And other arms manufacturers, big oil, big finance, everything is listed in there. You can go through the whole list yourself. And many of these corporate financier interests are also funding all the other think tanks in Washington doing the same type of work. Its board of directors and experts are among the most prominent figures in U.S. foreign policy and political circles. What is produced in the institution's papers is far from speculation or commentary, but instead reflects a consensus regarding the direction of U.S. foreign policy. As I said, its 2009 paper is no exception. For those who read its 170 pages in 2009, they would have learned about ongoing or future plans to overthrow or contain the Iranian government. There are entire chapters regarding diplomatic options, which laid out plans to appear to engage with Iran in a deal regarding its nuclear program, then unilaterally abandoning the plan and using its failure as a pretext to apply further pressure on the Iranian government and economy. That's under Chapter 2, tempting Tehran, the engagement option. And it lays out very clearly that the U.S. had no intention of upholding the deal, that it would be sabotaged, that Iran would be blamed for it, and that will be used as a pretext against Iran. Spelled out in black and white. There are chapters that detail methods of creating unrest within Iran, both by using U.S. government-funded opposition groups under Chapter 6, the Velvet Revolution supporting a popular uprising, and even through supporting U.S. State Department-listed foreign terrorist organizations like the Mujahideen al-Khaliq, MEK. That's under Chapter 7, inspiring an insurgency, supporting Iranian minority and opposition groups. Other chapters detail a direct U.S. invasion, Chapter 3, going all the way invasion, and a smaller scale air campaign. That's under Chapter 4, the Osirak option, airstrikes. Finally, a whole chapter is dedicated to using Israel to trigger a war the U.S. would then appear reluctant to wade into afterwards. That's Chapter 5. Leave it to Bibi, allowing or encouraging an Israeli military strike. Just keep all of this in mind as we continue here. Since 2009, each and every one of these options has either been tried, in some cases multiple times, or is in the process of being implemented. The so-called Iran nuclear deal signed under the administration of U.S. President Barack Obama,
the good part's coming,
abandoned under the administration of U.S. President Donald Trump, and efforts to revive it blocked under the administration of U.S. President Joe Biden, is an illustration of not just how faithful U.S. foreign policy unfolded in regards to the paper's contents, but the continuity of this policy regardless of who sat in the White House or who controlled the U.S. Congress, continuity of agenda. Today, one of the most dangerous options explored appears to be fully in motion, with the U.S. and Israel deliberately creating a permissive environment across the Middle East for war and repeatedly provoking Iran to trigger it. When I talk about creating a permissive environment for war across the region, I'm talking about the October 7, 2023 Hamas attacks and the Israeli response to it, which was essentially flattening Gaza. And many people say that Israel has failed. They cannot defeat Hamas. Israel put Hamas into power. They don't want to defeat Hamas. They want Hamas there as a perpetual pretext to brutalize the Palestinian people until there are no more Palestinian people. Then maybe they will pull the plug on and erase Hamas. So let's talk about this chapter, Leave It to Bibi. Brookings Institution makes several points clear. First, Iran is not interested in war with either the United States or Israel. It says that very clearly multiple times all throughout the paper. Second, the U.S. must take great effort to convince the world that Iran, not Washington, provoked a U.S. desired war. So the U.S. desperately wants this war, but they desperately want to convince the world that it was Iran who provoked it. And third, even if repeatedly provoked, there's a high likelihood Iran would not retaliate and therefore deny the U.S. and or Israel a pretext for wider war. And this is what the report actually says. It says it would be far more preferable if the United States could cite an Iranian provocation as justification for the airstrikes before launching them. They're saying they might just launch them anyway, but it would be better if they could cite some sort of provocation before launching them. Clearly, the more outrageous, the more deadly, and the more unprovoked the Iranian action, the better off the United States would be. Of course, it would be very difficult for the United States to go to Iran in such a provocation without the rest of the world recognizing this game, which would then undermine it. And you could see, following the Israeli strike on the Iranian embassy in Damascus, the Western media is pretending like it never happened. As Iran retaliated, they write in their headlines, Iranian attack on Israel, not Iranian retaliation. They just act as if Iran woke up one day and attacked Israel. So even if they can't achieve this through a series of events, they can manipulate what actually happened through the media and pretend that somehow it was unprovoked, nonetheless. The paper continues. It also says one method that would have some possibility of success would be to ratchet up covert regime change efforts in the hope that Tehran would retaliate overtly or even semi-overtly, which could then be portrayed as an unprovoked act of aggression, Iranian aggression. So you can see how the U.S. is admitting that it's not just planning to do these things, it's already doing it. And then it would escalate certain efforts already underway to further provoke Iran. And then when Iran reacts, they will spin it as if it was an unprovoked Iranian provocation, an act of unprovoked Iranian aggression. The paper is admitting the U.S. seeks war with Iran, but wants to convince the world it is Iran itself provoking it. The paper lays out the framework for a disingenuous diplomatic tract. Washington could take...
Anyway, I think you guys heard enough. So I recommend this episode. It literally came out 19 hours ago. And he talks about this paper from 2009 that explains everything. And like he says, Iran is not interested in a war with America. They're not interested in a war with Israel. And that's what the paper says. And the paper literally explains how to find a way to make Iran the bad guy for a war with Iran. Now, it's really interesting because there are so many people that believe that Israel controls the United States. And there is a good argument for that between the Israel lobby controlling the politicians, between a lot of people being dual citizens that are in the American government. A lot of people believe that, you know, Israel is like controlling the West altogether. So there is a real argument to be made that it's Israel controlling the United States. But Brian Politic's view, and it's also a very debatable view on that topic, is the complete opposite of that. Is that Israel is an American proxy, and America controls Israel, and Israel does what America says. It's just that it so happens that the current president doesn't know what day it is. So it ended up and the current president is also the biggest pro-Israel president in American history. Maybe RFK, which is why I no longer have much support for RFK like I did before. He might be a bigger pro-Israel than the current Biden administration. So that depends. Trump is pretty pro-Israel as well, but I don't think Trump is that crazy. So Brian Politic's view is that Israel is just another proxy of the American neocons, no different than Ukraine. And America will gladly sacrifice Israel to the last Israeli, I don't want to say to the last Jew, but to the last Israeli in Israel, in their attempt to create, to continue creating havoc in the Middle East. Okay, so that's kind of his position, is that Israel is just there until America puts Israel in a position to destroy itself, but cause a lot of havoc in the meantime, no different than Ukraine, and no different than the Taiwanese will be in that position soon enough. Again, they're just there as a proxy state of the US to create disruption in the South China Sea, to create an annoyance for China. And if every single Taiwanese has to die in order for America to hold on to its global superior power for an extra decade, so be it. They really don't care about, you know, the lives of the Taiwanese, just like they don't care about the lives of Ukrainians, just like they don't care about the lives of the Israelis. That's according to Brian Politic. I think the truth is somewhere in between. I think Israel does have an enormous power over the U.S., but at the same time, U.S. does have more power over Israel than the other way around. It's just that I think Brian Bolittik's view is probably slightly more likely. Now, and I heard him express it in a lot of detail. And he goes back to these papers about Russia, about Ukraine, from these American think tanks from like a decade earlier. And these papers literally explain what America wants to do, and you're watching it play out in real time. So I do recommend his channel. You do learn a lot. He only uses Western sources for his material. He only uses like the Washington Post, the New York Times, the Guardian. So he only points to Western sources, but he, actually dissects them to show you that, yes, they're lying to you, but there's a couple of sentences in there that they snuck in that tell you what the truth on the ground that's happening.
Tone, when I heard about the Iranian retaliation, my first instinct was that Iran has to do something to retaliate because their consulate was hit in Syria. But they didn't really want to drag, Israel into a full conflict with Iran and the United States. So what they did is they just shot a bunch of missiles, hit a bunch of, didn't really hit anything, or hit a bunch of empty, airfields, and just so they could tell their own people that, hey, we retaliated. But I was watching Jimmy Dore earlier today, and Scott Ritter was a guest on the Jimmy Dore show, and he said that the Iron Dome was actually a failure because you could see video of the missiles getting through the Iron Dome, and it wasn't blocking out all the missiles and all the drones. And it was saying that, and then Scott Ritter was basically saying that Iran hit a whole bunch of military targets in Israel, but Israel doesn't want to say that. They don't want to go say that, oh, a whole bunch of our, military bases got hit, because then that would be an admission to their people that the Iron Dome is not safe. So I don't know if you have an opinion on that, on Iran's retaliation or not.
Yeah. Now, in your statement, you mentioned Iraq, and I'm not sure if that was by accident or
No, I meant Iran. I didn't. If I said Iraq, I said it by mistake.
Okay, got it. Just checking. Yeah. So it's interesting. So as Brian Bolittik points out, Iran does not want to be involved. Oh, I see Bitcoin Mechanic. Hey, man, if you want to join the stream, I can send you the link. So DM me.
I'll DM it to him. I have.
Yeah, DM it to Mechanic. Why not? So Iran didn't want this, right? Like they didn't want their embassy to be their consulate next to the embassy. Either way, it's Iranian soil in the country of Syria, neither of which Israel should have the ability to send a missile into, right? I mean, it's literally no different than Russia sending a missile into France to destroy a German consulate. Like that's literally what Israel just did. Okay. So Iran had to do something. So it sounds like Iran actually like telegraphed what they were doing. They sent a bunch of missiles. They didn't kill anybody. They hit some targets. They made sure they sent enough missiles to put holes in the Iron Dome. Now, Israel doesn't want to admit that the Iron Dome failed, and America doesn't want to admit the Iron Dome failed because they're using American technology mostly for the Iron Dome. So everyone is going to be lying. But if the latest news is Israel wants to retaliate, and if they do, the next time Iran strikes, they're going to strike with a hypersonic missile, something that the Iron Dome will not stop. Like the only country that has a defense against hypersonic missiles is Russia. Israel doesn't have that kind of defense. So if Iran wanted to, strike the presidential palace in Israel, they can do it and they can destroy it. Well, like, I don't understand how people don't know this.
And I know Mechanic wants to jump in here, but one other quick point that Scott Ritter said that I thought was interesting. He said that because they were asking if Netanyahu is taken out of power, like, is the person that replaces Netanyahu going to be like more moderate, more reasonable, and less hawkish? And Scott Ritter said that, And Scott Ritter said that ever since Yitzhak Rabin was assassinated, and I think it was 94, that basically that put an end to any type of reasonableness in Israel's government. We're watching highlights of the NBA.
No, I want to point to the real conspiracy theory that we should be discussing now that the NBA playoffs have started. The free throw disparity that the Lakers make.
Please, I'm a Lakers fan. You know that, and Lakers don't shoot threes, so obviously they're going to get more free throws, and people think that's some big conspiracy. It's not.
This is so perfect. I'm so glad you're on this stream. Hold on. Here it is. I love this part. Hold on. And you know which team gets hosed the most? It's actually the Golden State Warriors.
They're a 3-point shooting team. That's why the Lakers match up well against them.
That's actually so not true. Most teams shoot about the same number of 3-pointers across the board. So I'm just going to show you statistics. This is not like cherry picking a couple of games. This is the last several years. Okay, so I'm not even gonna speed this one up. Hold on. I'm gonna speed it up a smidge, a quarter. We got a Laker fan here. Hold on, guys.
Multi-billion-dollar global entity that, according to metrics, continues to thrive in viewership. Now, I understand that some of you might still be skeptical about the idea of the Lakers engaging in.
Did we lose audio?
646 differential, largely due to Curry never getting the calls he deserves. Next in line is Indiana with
a. My bad. I accidentally muted my mic.
Golden State Warriors rank at the very bottom with a minus 646 differential, largely due to Curry never getting the calls he deserves. Next in line is Indiana with a minus 533 differential. And as we ascend the list, Orlando holds the fourth position with a plus 311 differential. Milwaukee is next at plus 344, and New York takes the second spot at plus 358. Now, you probably figured out by now that the Lakers.
Wait, why is the quality so shitty? 1 second. Oh yeah, it's on 360.
Test.
All right, yep, your mic's working.
I can hear you, Mechanic.
All right, I want to hear this. I was like dealing with my tech issues, so we're gonna play this again. This is over the last several years of data, not just this season.
Here's the combined difference in free throw attempts for each team over the last 2 seasons.
2 seasons.
The Golden State Warriors rank at the very bottom with a minus 646 differential, largely due to Curry never getting the calls he deserves. Next in line is Indiana with a minus 533 differential. And as we ascend the list, Orlando holds the fourth position with a plus 311 differential. Milwaukee is next at plus 344, and New York takes the second spot at plus 358. Now, you probably figured out by now that the Lakers hold the number 1 position, but try and guess their free throw advantage over the second place team. If your guess was an additional 100 free throws, think again. If you estimated 200 more free throws, that's not it either. And if you believe they had twice as many as the Knicks, you're still far from the truth. Because the reality of the situation is, if you combine the total free throw differential of Orlando, Milwaukee, and New York, the Lakers would still come out on top. I feel like they fouled, and we did. That's right, 1,017 over the last 2 seasons. They secured 3 times as many free throws as the team in second place. This goes beyond being a mere outlier. It's a statistical aberration.
Yeah, well, look at this, right? look how many free throws they get how many extra free throws they got versus the average over the last 2 seasons. Look at this anomaly, right? Like yeah, fine. Golden State is in last place, but at least every team is like a few free throws away from each other. And like it scales in a normal bell curve, and then literally Indiana and Golden State are outliers on the bottom side, and literally straight up the Lakers are. It's such a ridiculous outlier. It's insane. The NBA is totally rigged.
Okay, I don't think we want to continue this discussion because I want to bring in Mechanic, and I'm sure he's got strong opinions.
All right, Mechanic, I'm sure you're a basketball expert. What do you say?
Yeah, I got no idea. I didn't even have an idea about the previous topic either. I just wanted to hang out. But there's some fun stuff going on testnet at the moment we could get into if you want.
Oh yeah, I was paying attention to some of that stuff. It's pretty interesting. Go ahead, Mechanic. I'm all ears.
Tom, do you want to open up mempool.space/testnet and take a look at what's going on there?
Sure. And then I do have to get back to the geopolitics questions.
Well, that's more fun anyway.
Hey, well, did Ocean find any blocks this week?
The last block we found was on the 13th of April or the 12th of April, so 3 or 4 days ago. So not
So
this week, but within a week.
Someone asked if Iran has a nuclear weapons. I believe that they do not. I do not believe that Iran has nuclear weapons. But
they stupidly destroyed their nuclear weapons system because they trusted the U.S. government.
That was a failure.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. The only country that did not trust the U.S. government, it was North Korea that built their nuclear capability.
Well, so yeah, someone from whoever Unconfiscatable Network is just said 166 blocks in the past 24 hours, but the time is all wrong on testnet right now. They're doing a time warp attack. Oh, sorry, Tone, I think you're muted.
Am I on mute?
Yeah, see, it also just now blocks just now.
Yeah, so they're doing a time warp attack to make it so that regular miners can't thwart the attack they're doing. So Jameson Lop and the Taproot Wizards don't like Casey and the Runes people. They're all spammers and none of them trust each other, which is not really surprising. But something apparently went wrong with Runes. They're trying to launch at the halving. All of the spammers are trying to launch at the halving because they want to be the main source.
Hey, what's can we back up here? What the fuck is Runes?
It's just another spam protocol. It's like a native asset that uses op return. Very conservative, I will say. It's far less harmful than any of the other spam. I have to be careful what I say here because I'm in the middle of the spam war and I'm part of, the people pushing back against it. But I have nowhere near the animosity towards Rune that I do people storing JPEGs and movies inside Bitcoin's blockchain because it uses way less data. So Ocean's main template has 42 bytes op return, which is fine and enough for most people to do whatever they want if they're putting in hashes and stuff like that. It's even got more bytes than a SHA-256 hash. So Runes barely uses anything. It looks like a normal transaction with some op return data. That's it. But the Taproot Wizards don't like the Runes guys. So something went wrong with Runes, and they're trying to fix it on testnet, but testnet is unusable at the moment because Jameson Lop is mining every single block an hour and a half in the future and with no transactions in it to stop anyone from being able to use it. The odd block you see there that does have some transactions, well, you see how they all say just now? That's because the timestamp in all of them is like an hour and a half in the future. But the two blocks you see there that do have transactions, that's Luxor, who presumably are trying to help the Runes people actually get some testing done. So they've had to modify their pool software to use the wrong time and just try and get some transactions in there. If you want to see, the way I figured this all out is if you click on any of those empty blocks and scroll down a bit, you'll see in the Coinbase that it says mined by Lop. And Lop is just a little bit further. No, that's not right. You got to click on a block first. Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
So that was the expected block.
So is Lop on the Taproot's wizard team with Udi and Eric?
Yep.
What? Wow. I mean, I always knew Lop was shitcoiny, but
yeah, I know, right? I can't believe it.
I can believe it.
Well, yeah, I mean, Casa went full Ethereum, and they did a few woke things that were a bit embarrassing. But then I saw a Taproot Wizard icon next to his name, which means he's part of that organization. I don't know in what capacity. Maybe he doesn't have a big role there, but it was enough for me to go, really?
Lop also supported Bitcoin XT. He was on my current side for that, although he did later say he was wrong on doing that.
Yeah, I mean, he's an intelligent guy. But I mean, if you're a Taproot Wizard, that's like, I don't know.
By the way, Tone was asking when Ocean mined a block. I put in the chat of the YouTube video. There's a Twitter account called Ocean Blocks. Every single time Ocean mines a block, that account spits it out. So you can, if you're trying to figure out when Ocean mined the block, you can just follow that Twitter account.
Yeah, it's a good account. It's got some good info in there.
I put it in the chat on YouTube. It's Ocean Blocks, Ocean Space Blocks, I believe.
Blocks Ocean.
I gotta stop looking at the YouTube stream because it's confusing the shit out of me when I see you talking. I'm muted.
So it only tweets out when a block is found.
Yeah, it's just a bot that tweets details of the
Okay,
latest block.
so I can set a notification bell. Cool.
There's one on Nostr as well.
Yeah, I still gotta learn how to use Nostr.
Nostr's it's pretty easy, man. You've got
So-
a star 9, right? You can just install Iris on that.
And Mechanic, what do you think about bringing back understanding Bitcoin for a 3-day hands-on workshops on how to use Bitcoin?
Yeah, I love it. Where?
I don't want to give away the secret location.
Okay, but Luke is stuck in Dubai right now.
Yeah, I was supposed to be there with him at that conference. I got him the speaking gig, and then I canceled my flight.
Right. Well, everything got cancelled. I don't know if it's because of geopolitics. They say it's because of weather. I
No,
don't
it's
know if the
because
weather
of
is because of
no, it's
geopolitics.
because they need a Noah's Ark over there right now.
Yeah, but is it intentional or not? Like cloud seeding's sort of turned from being a conspiracy theory to obvious fact at this point.
Yeah. Well, it's been an obvious fact because I knew about cloud seeding since I've been going to Dubai. I mean, they're not like they're not secretive about it, but I don't know if this was cloud seeding. I mean, people knew the storm was coming, so I don't know. I don't know how cloud seeding works. That technology didn't exist when I was studying geology, and so I think they seed the clouds and wait for an actual rainstorm that happens like once or twice a year. But when it comes, that rainstorm is like massive. And this was a massive rainstorm combined with cloud seeding that have been there like since, I don't know, last year, early this year. And it just created a freaking nightmare. But, here's the thing about Dubai, right? Like it's all going to be dry in like 3 days, right? So 3 days from now, yeah, there'll be like broken cars on the road for a little while until they get rid of those. But as far as where's the water going to go, it's going to, absorb into the sand over the next 3 days. So I was actually trying to leave for Dubai tomorrow night, but because of all the flights canceling tonight, it made it impossible for me to buy another flight, which really sucks.
But also, what route are they gonna take? Like, there's a
Oh, I
war
talked
zone.
about that earlier. So the flight that I canceled, so I had a flight Sunday night, and my flight to Dubai was supposed to fly through Syria and then through Iraq and then through Iran to get to Dubai. And I'm like, hell no, because I am very concerned about Israel creating a false flag on an airliner, blaming it on Iran. That's my concern.
Right. Yeah.
And I canceled my flight like 6 hours before the flight, and then 3 hours before the flight takes off, they changed the route. And now they fly south of Israel.
Yeah, that's smart. Like a couple of years ago, who blew up a Malaysia airline passenger jet?
It was a Ukrainian fighter jet, but it's still, if you go to Wikipedia, it'll still blame it on Russian separatists in eastern Ukraine firing with a surface-to-air, missile. But that's not what happened. It was what actually happened was a Ukrainian fighter jet shut down the passenger flight, but they
As a false
completely
flag
covered
or
it
an
up.
accident?
Yeah, it was an accident, but they completely covered it up.
And it was also when that other Malaysian flight went down without a trace, right?
Oh, that one, I have no idea what the hell happened there.
Well, didn't that have all the world's top HIV or AIDS researchers on it going to
I-
a conference when the plane went down and it
So-
just disappeared?
Okay, so see, back in the day when that was happening, I wasn't into I didn't have time to analyze, they're not conspiracy theories, right? But I didn't have time to go down these rabbit holes. Figuring out why some random flight disappeared was not on my,
Tone.
to-do list. What's up?
Sorry about that. My dog's barking. But everyone's asking to put up the time chain calendar, timechain.com in the comments.
Yeah, we're close to the halving, but
Can't be that close. Otherwise, what do I mess up?
It might be slash Yeah, I'm not sure. Or Bernoulli, the link is in the
No,
chat.
it's time chain calendar or time chain stats. There's two different websites. I can't
Oh, I'm
remember.
sorry. It is Time Chain Calendar. My bad. TimeChainCalendar.com.
Time chain stats is different. That's not what they're asking for.
No, TimeChainCalendar.com. I believe it's AR, not ER.
Fuck.
I can't spell calendar, so if you're asking dyslexic tone to spell it, yeah, there you go. It's got the spinning ASIC.
So wait, so we have 430 blocks to go?
Yep.
Does he have a countdown?
Yeah, on the top, it's halving countdown, 2 days and 23 hours.
Okay. Yeah, so you got plenty of time.
Yeah, I want to find one more block before the halving. That would be nice.
Yeah, that'd be nice because, let's not discuss tone-based mining strategies.
Right. Yeah, so
But
back to politics, man. I've been paying sweet F all attention to it, but you're one of the few people that discusses it that I'm inclined to agree with, because everyone else is just standing with the current thing and it's making me sick. So I haven't really known what to. I agree with Saifedean a lot, frankly, with a lot of what he's saying about, I think he's Palestinian, right? Or he grew up in Lebanon, but
Saifedean is Palestinian, but I don't actually know what he's saying because I haven't really been listening. I'm not saying I'm going to disagree, but I'm just saying I don't know what he's been saying. I'm assuming he's not pro-Israel, being Palestinian.
yeah.
But that's
Just to
all.
put it lightly.
But that's just my assumption. But I have not heard his views on the situation.
It's just the characterization of the whole thing is it's America paying for Israel to conduct genocide on Palestinians, basically.
Well,
And,
that's pretty much a fact at this point. I don't know how anyone should be disputing that.
well, people will characterize it as Israel defending themselves, and you hate Jews if you disagree, which is like I'm a self-loathing Jew according to the definitions laid out in the 80s, where anyone that could criticize the state of Israel is either anti-Semitic or a self-loathing Jew, and those are the only two categories you're allowed.
Yeah, I'm
Mm.
also in the latter there with you. Yes.
Yeah. So very annoying. I have a lot of family in Tel Aviv. I've been there multiple times. I really liked it. I've been around Jerusalem. Obviously, my family are shit scared for themselves, and I don't want them in that situation. I want them to get out. But extrapolating or just looking at the bigger picture, I have no idea. Like my cousins have been telling me they've been trying to get out of Israel for years because they knew something like this was coming and they don't want to be in the middle of it. One of them managed to.
I've never even wanted to visit Israel for these reasons.
Well,
So
it's
1 second. Can you click on the countdown, the halving countdown? That's what they were asking for in the chat. Sorry to interrupt you guys. Go ahead.
How?
yeah, it's all right. It's a great place to visit, or it
No,
was. I don't think
how?
you'd go there now.
Wait, hold on. How do I click on the countdown?
I don't know. Bernoulli was just telling me click on the halving countdown. But if it's not clickable, don't worry about it, I guess.
It's not clickable. All right. Yeah, no, it's I don't understand how anyone continues to live in Israel right now, like, and is in support of this. It's completely insane to me.
Well, I don't really know what to do about it. No, neither does anyone else. It does look like the Biden admin is on some sort of pressure to not be too egregiously,
Well, yeah, because it's
supportive
gonna
of
hurt
it.
him in the election. I mean, the hardcore leftists, led by AOC out up in the Bronx, they're very pro-Palestine. So it's he's alienating a lot of his base by being continuing to send them all the weapons.
On the
Usually
top
it's
right, they're saying where it says average block time. Sorry to interrupt.
Average block
on the
time.
top right, 9 minute 42. Left one more.
Here.
Yeah,
There's nothing clickable here.
agreed.
Dude, these guys are tripping.
Okay, never mind. I'll try to find it and then
Just click in the black space. Click on every black pixel until eventually something. Yeah, I don't know about it.
Okay, don't worry about it. It's all good. I was just telling you what Bernoulli was telling me. Sorry to interrupt you guys.
That's all right. So I've fallen out of touch with what's going on in East Ukraine. I looked at it again today, and Bakhmut is actually finally under Russian complete control. I don't know
Oh,
when they
dude,
finally have one.
Bakhmut has been under Russian control for like 4 months. It's
Yeah.
Avdiivka is the latest. That was the biggest Ukrainian stronghold, even bigger than Bakhmut. I remember when Russia was trying to capture Bakhmut, there was like a poll: which city is Russia going to capture first, Bakhmut or Avdiivka? And I remember voting for Avdiivka. I didn't realize Avdiivka was that fortified. Russia just captured Avdiivka like a month ago, and now they've moved way beyond it. It's actually, I guess, I'm also streaming the game and watching the game. And every time I look at the game, LeBron's at the free throw line, like he is literally right now. Yeah, so the biggest Ukrainian stronghold was this city right here, Avdiivka. I
And
mean,
that's gone?
it took Russia like a year to take the city. And this city, once the city fell, this is how far Russia advanced. Now, this may not look very far, but Ukraine is now totally fucked.
Yeah, well, there's
And
nothing left until the river, right?
there's almost nothing left till the river, and they're actually about to encircle Kharkov and take Kharkov, and they're going to take Odessa as well. Now, the current craziness is Macron, I call him Baby Napoleon, is now sending French troops into Ukraine to help Ukraine. And he even called Russia, like talking to them about asking them not to kill the French troops because they're not going to be firing at Russians. They're just going to be there, you know, for as peacekeepers from NATO. And he didn't get to talk to Putin. He wouldn't take his call. But like I don't know, Putin's second in command, he basically laughed at him and said, the moment a French guy shows up in his uniform, not only are they targets, they're going to be literally targeted as priority to be killed.
I think it's only appropriate that the French join in a war where they're guaranteed to lose already. That's, you know, that fits. You don't want to risk winning something and ruining your reputation. Like,
yeah. So, so right now I mean, I believe that Russia will eventually stop. Well, but I think Russia will take this. I think Russia is taking this.
jeez. That's
All
about
of this.
70% of Ukraine
A
gone.
little less. So here's the thing. So I already kind of drew it, and like you can't really go back. So I think Russia is going to take this. Now, this triangle should really be like kind of deeper, but the problem is they can't just take this because this creates a very inefficient long line to defend. So what's going to happen is they reluctantly will take this area as well, only because it shortens their defensive line. I keep going back to this picture, and even back like 2 years ago, when I started talking about Ukraine, I was, let me just grab it real quick. This picture. And I'm always going back to this image. This is Russia. I mean, this image is from 2003, but it doesn't matter. Like in 2023, it wasn't very different. These percentages would have been just slightly less. These are the regions where 92% of the people don't even know how to speak Ukrainian. And over here, 84% of the people don't know how to speak Ukrainian. And here, 60% of the people don't know how to speak Ukrainian. So what that says is the reason why Russia instantly, like no one ever talks about this. How was Russia able to take Crimea in 3 days and then 4 regions of Russia, of Ukraine, 4 regions? They absorbed these 4 regions. within the first like 4 months of the war, and for the last 2 years after that, they barely moved like 3 or 4 kilometers, or maybe like 10 or 20 kilometers. And yet in the first 4 months, they literally took hundreds of kilometers. That's because every person here is freaking Russian, and they were more than happy to become Russia. Okay, that's the reason. No one ever talks about that. All right.
Yeah.
So if you go back to this image, these are the regions that Russia took. And Kharkov is like over here as well. And they're going to take, they don't really want this region right here, this eastern center, because this eastern center is more 50-50. So they don't really want this, but being 50-50, they'll take it and they'll deal with it. They'll like tell the Ukrainians, you can go west and you'll be left alone. Well, as much as they can, unlike what Israel did to, Palestinians, said go south, and now they're going to bomb the south. But Russia might still bomb the west, but only if America doesn't back off. So, but I think they will also take all of this in green. And because you can't have this like this Italy kind of shape here, you can't have that because that's way too difficult of an area to defend. And over here is a natural barrier of a giant river. So they're going to go to the river, and they're going to take all of these parts where people identify as Russian more than they identify as Ukrainian. And then hopefully it ends. But if CIA puts more bases over here, if NATO keeps going public, if people keep saying NATO, they're going to bring this part of Ukraine into NATO, there will just be no Ukraine. Like Russia is willing to go all the way to the Polish border and have a military occupation of this area if NATO doesn't, sign a piece of paper that says they're not going to have any military there. Okay, let me get to some of the questions, right? Like my Q&A chat is full of questions.
Hey, Phil,
Yeah.
I figured out what Bernoulli was telling me. If you go back to the time chain calendar, if you click on the wizard in the bottom right, there's a wizard thing you can adjust the block time, and they'll tell you when the halving will be based on the block time. So you'll see the wizard pop up, and then it'll give you the exact time of the halving, and just the.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's what they were trying to do.
I think the average time to the halving will be about 9 minutes and 50 seconds. Bam. 9 minutes, 30 seconds. Sorry, 9.5 minutes. All right, so 5 p.m. We will be streaming by 5 p.m. on the 19th, which I believe is Saturday.
I saw in the chat, someone said, do you expect like a COVID dump, just like we had that epic COVID dump on March 11th or 12th, whatever it was? Do you expect something like that during a war? Or do you expect like a rapid drop like that?
I expect a drop, but not like a COVID drop. Like 55,000 is basically my floor here. All right, let me go through some questions. I'll try to do it as fast as possible. Motorist, maybe you want to read them out to me from starting from today's messages in the Q&A, starting with the Mexican peso.
1 second.
But they're mostly political questions. Oh, by the way, if you look at the FX rates, the dollar is rising because military conflict will be bullish for the US dollar. And there was a good question, is America prepared for a war with Russia? America is very prepared for a war with anyone on American soil. It is actually, I believe it's impossible for another country to invade the US. Is America prepared for a war with Russia in Ukraine or in Poland or even in Germany? The answer is no, it's not. Just like Russia will get its ass kicked if they decide to invade America with troops on the ground, America would get their ass whooped if they decided to fight Russia with ground troops because Russia can supply those troops through the ground and America cannot. So Same thing for China. America has no ability to go to war with China. Every American Navy ship would be destroyed within the first week of the war. It is incredibly easy to sink any American Navy ship that exists. It will literally take a few hours, and the ship will be gone. China has Mach 20 hypersonic missiles. Now, they've never tested them on anything actionable, and it's possible that those missiles will fail, but it's not going to take them more than a few months to fix the bugs. And the only problem with the Chinese military is that it isn't battle tested, which is not a problem that Russia has. Russia now has the best military in the world because they've just battle tested it for 2 years. Not to mention, Russian military actually literally spent the last 20 years preparing for this war that America's been starting with them. And meanwhile, the American military has been too busy trying to figure out how many dresses the next general needs to wear on a monthly basis in order to get promoted. That's basically the difference between the Russian and the American military.
Okay, if you want me to start reading questions.
Yeah.
Joan, can you look at the Mexican peso versus the dollar? I think MRI has been very interesting on daily and weekly. I'm looking into buying property in Mexico soon, LOL.
Right. So before I get to that, I am curious about the Turkish lira. It continues to devalue. There's the Mexican peso. Oh, the Mexican peso just weakened against the dollar. Super interesting how it happened right off of an MRI buy opportunity. Just like it topped on an MRI sell, and the prior bottom was on a second consecutive MRI buy. Now, this one didn't work out as well, but it wasn't too bad of a missed trade. So, well, if you're thinking of buying property in Mexico, are you buying it with Mexican pesos or with American dollars? So right here, the Mexican peso has been appreciating nicely, and it's devaluing a little bit. I am very bullish on Mexico. See, Mexico is not going to have a problem like the U.S., right? If the U.S. decides to go to war with the BRICS, with China, with Russia, use their buddy Malay over in Argentina, who America helped put into power to start a war with Brazil. So if America goes to war against the BRICS, Mexico will have absolutely no part of it. Mexico, even though America is Mexico's best trading partner, Mexico has no problem dealing with Russia, China, or Brazil. So Mexico is working on a competition through the Panama Canal as well. So Mexico will be fine, and they are not joining America's fight. So I am very bullish on Mexico because Mexico isn't falling for American bullshit. And so on that front, I am bullish on Mexico in general. So buying property in Mexico is probably not a bad idea. And I think the Mexican peso will continue to do well in the future.
It was the only currency I know of that went up against the dollar since COVID hit.
Yeah, Brazil's not okay, I think. COVID devalued its currency a lot, but it's not, well, it devalued a lot today, but everything devalued a lot today. And, but I think Ukrainian currency is on the verge of collapse. I think Ukrainian currency is on the verge of total collapse.
What's the ruble doing?
The ruble is also slowly devaluing against the dollar, but for Russia, that's okay because their economy is booming. So their economy is booming, so the ruble devaluing a bit is not a big deal. The problem is the Ukrainian currency, which America has stabilized for the last year and a half and is now about to go into hyperinflation. So I know it's not a big deal right here. The Ukrainian currency since, mid-December has now devalued 8% since mid-December. But I think by the time this year is over, it's going to devalue at least 25% because especially if that $61 billion package doesn't go, people have to realize that America is paying, and Europe is paying every Ukrainian government employee. Ukraine has no economy. So every single government employee gets paid by American tax dollars and some European tax dollars.
Interesting. Have you seen those videos of people walking around malls in Russia where they've like made every single store like almost the name of an American store? Like there's Star now instead of Starbucks. And like, and it's like basically the same logo. They're the most boycotted country on the planet right now, right? So they don't have anything. No McDonald's, no Coke. It's a bit like Cuba or something. It's completely no American companies are there. My daughter really wants to go there for some reason. I wonder if I can fly there from Canada.
I know that there was an Aeroflot flight when the war with Ukraine first started. There was an Aeroflot flight that was trying to come into Canadian airspace, and they were denied. It was like a private airliner. The war started while they were in the air, and they had to turn around and land somewhere else. They couldn't land in Canada.
Which I'm sure that airline was full of Canadians too.
Exactly. It was like so stupid. Just didn't make any sense.
Which is insane.
So it's election year, and I'm expecting some insane shenanigans, though I don't really. This is the most viable third-party candidate there's ever been in American history, even though I don't think RFK is going to win. But normally it's much more obvious that they're not going to win. RFK has a big following because he's the only anti-vax candidate, and so many people.
You know, I think if RFK took an anti-Israel stance, he would have had a chance. I think being this pro-Israel really hurt his campaign.
Well, who did he choose as his VP as well? She's like the worst person in the world.
I've never heard of her.
Well, it was every single response that I saw to him doing that was, "You just lost my vote."
Yeah, it was a really bad choice. Like even like a Vivek Ramaswamy would have been a great choice.
I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with Biden. I don't understand how America can.
Do you want to hear you want to hear my theory on that? What they're going to do with Biden?
What?
So my crazy theory on what they're going to do with Biden. Let me open a Bitcoin chart. I believe that sometime in July, August, like the second half of the summer, Biden is going to step down for whatever reason. Maybe he'll fall down the stairs again. I don't know, or up the stairs. I think Biden is going to step down at the end of July. They'll make up a reason. I don't know. He wants to remember something. Who knows? And Kamala Harris becomes president for a very limited time. And God help us all, right? But it's only going to be 2 to 3 months. All right. And she will need a vice president. And I think she will select Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, as her vice president. Then, when it's time for general election, they will announce that she will not seek a term as president. And Gavin Newsom, having 3 months as vice president, steps in as the de facto Democrat nominee for president.
He's certainly liked by the establishment DNC.
Right.
It's not so crazy.
He was also the one that went to China, got Xi Jinping to come to San Francisco. So that is my theory on what might happen. And in order to shut up Kamala Harris and not to seek a presidential term and not to start a nuclear war while she's president for 3 months, they're going to offer her the U.S. Attorney General seat once she steps down after 3 months of presidency, and Gavin Newsom might even promise her a Supreme Court nomination if he's elected and somebody passes on the Supreme Court while Newsom's president, because she's technically a lawyer.
What's crazy is that neither Kamala Harris nor Biden would have ever become president if they weren't first selected for vice president, because they both ran for president. They both ran awful campaigns for president. Nobody liked them. Nobody wanted to vote for them. In fact, Obama wasn't even going to pick Biden for his vice president. When Obama was running in 2008, Biden was such a bad candidate that he wasn't on anyone's radar to be a vice presidential pick for Obama. But something changed. Something happened in 2008 that made Obama change his mind, and he selected Biden to be his vice presidential candidate. And I'll give you guys Tone and Mechanica trivia questions. You know what that event was? There was some big world event that happened in 2008 that made Obama think that he needed to pick Biden because Biden was like supposedly a foreign policy expert. Do you guys know what that event was?
Was it the NATO thing with Georgia and Ukraine?
No, it was actually the Chechen revolt or the Chechen assault, whatever you want to call it, that happened. That was the big story in 2008. It was a big war that was brewing between Russia and Chechnya. And when that big news event happened, and Obama was supposedly inexperienced in foreign policy, and he was running against McCain, who McCain was supposedly a big foreign policy expert. So then that's the reason why he picked Biden. So had that not happened, Biden would have never become vice president, and Biden would have likely never become president. And now Kamala Harris could become president, and the only reason for that is because she's now vice president. This is why the vice president is actually a very dangerous role, because somebody who would never become president can become president through that office, which is pretty bad for both Biden and Kamala Harris.
Yeah, I really thought that the whole Chechnya thing ended before 2008, but I don't know. I hate going to Wikipedia for shit. Yeah, but it looks like the Chechnya conflict continued past that. I know, like, the conflict that I was paying attention to in 2008 was Russia and Georgia, where Russian military basically destroyed the Georgian military in a span of a couple of months because Georgia thought that they would be joining NATO and America would come and help them, and no one said anything. So it's kind of like, man, it reminds me of that scene in anybody ever watched The Wire?
Yeah,
I've seen the first two seasons.
So I think it was season 2 of The Wire. Let me go to YouTube here. And man, I wish I can cut it out. So it was man, I don't know how to look for it. The Wire. I don't even remember the characters. Man.
Was it McNulty?
No, it wasn't that. It was that skinny guy, the skinny Polish guy, like decided to pick a fight with like a big guy. Man.
Yeah, I think that's season 2, but I don't remember the exact scene.
Gavin.
This is such a terrible Google search.
By the way, there's a thing on the side. There's a video on the side that says, "Will
right
Israel go nuclear?"
Ziggy. Wait, what did it say on the side?
It was, you know how YouTube has the videos on the side? It said, "Will
Right.
Israel go nuclear?" I'm wondering if you've seen that video. I haven't seen it, but I've seen it.
I haven't. I don't go for clickbaity titles. You guys gotta watch this scene. Like this is literally. I wish I can do a meme, but it requires watching multiple episodes, right? So this was like, I don't know, episode 5 or 6 of the season, right? And throughout the season, this skinny guy, like they don't like each other, and all these other like employees, they kept like whispering to him because the guy is so manipulative. Like they can manipulate him. They're like, dude, that guy isn't big. They were like, no, it's the clothes that make the man. You know, he's a wuss. You can take him. Like throughout like all the prior episodes, they're like constantly trying to bait him on to pick a fight with this guy. And here's what happens. And you guys should listen what happens right after he picks a fight with him. You guys hear this?
It's kind of low.
Oh, it's speeding up. Hold on. Shit.
What do you know? That fishing has got some plates on with that too.
So he heard him ordering a frappuccino. So he comes up to these guys and he's like, look at this fancy ordering a frappuccino. And they're like, yeah, but again, you have to watch all the prior episodes where they were baiting him on, talking about, oh, he only looks big because of his clothes. Nah, that guy ain't big. You can take him. You can take him. And then you heard him say, this is your time. You can take him now. He's weak.
Is that Chechnya versus Russia, or?
You trying to help him down? You'll be up there with him.
You see how he's yelling at them, saying bad advice. You motherfuckers gave me bad advice, right? Because again, throughout the season, they've been baiting him to beat the guy up, right? And then he tries, and this is what happens. And then he looks at them and blames them for giving him bad advice. Okay, so this is the almost the perfect scenario that describes Georgia versus Russia, Ukraine versus Russia, Chechnya versus Russia, and this is like America. So if I was to do a meme on that,
Hitler. How about
someone
Hitler?
can cut those guys out. Like you put like US on one of the guys and Britain on another guy, and then like, France on another one. It's like everyone was giving Ukraine advice that they can take Russia. And here's what happens. Same thing with Georgia. Everyone was like giving Georgia advice to take on Russia. And this is what happens.
Oh, and Tone, do you see the video now that I was talking about on the side, right? Colonel Douglas McGregor, will Israel go nuclear? Judge Napolitano.
Yeah, is that like, how many days ago? Where's that? Oh, there it is. How long?
But
9
it's like
hours
a half-hour video.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet. I'll watch it tomorrow morning or something.
So, Motorist, you still maintain that Epstein killed himself, right?
Oh boy, you're gonna get in trouble, mechanic. Yeah, my four most controversial opinions are that Oswald acted alone, Epstein took his own life, and 9/11. There's no controlled demolition on 9/11, and the other one was, what was the fourth one? I forget.
Landing.
Honestly, I do believe in conspiracy theories. There is a conspiracy that no one talks about that I believe in, which is the TWA Flight 800 conspiracy, which I believe was shot down by the U.S. Navy. But no one talks about that one. Everyone says, oh, it just blew up, and as it was taking off, it just blew up for no reason. But it was like, it was probably shot down by the Navy, and this was in 90. I want to say it was 95, could have been 94.
Do you believe any of the stuff around sexual impropriety around a certain elite part of our society?
Yeah, I do think that that's a part of it. And one of the things that I think about is a lot of these powerful people, they let themselves become blackmailed just so they know that it's the route they can take to get more power. So, I think maybe Bill Clinton full well knew that this stuff could be used to control him, and he didn't care. But because he knew that, this was my ticket to get power. So if I have to be beholden to, some creepy investor, that I do believe in. That conspiracy I do believe in. I just don't think those guys had the motive to take Epstein out, because they knew that nothing was going to come out in the trial anyway, even if it did go to trial. We kind of saw that with the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. No details were released. It was all hushed up. There's no cameras or recordings allowed in federal court, unlike state court, which they sometimes do allow cameras. I mean, they covered everything up. So the powerful people didn't need to take out Epstein. Epstein just didn't want to spend the rest of his life in prison. I think that's the most likely explanation. Could be wrong, but that's just what I think.
Well, also the autopsy showed some pretty irregular things for someone that would just hang themselves.
Yes, there's some disagreement on that. aspect of it. And I know that there's a famous doctor. I think his name is Dr. Bodden. He said that it was a homicide, not a not a suicide. But I mean, I don't know which doctor to believe. There's other doctors who are saying no, it was. And when there's disagreeing opinions, I just go with the simpler answer. The simpler answer is he took himself out. That's the more. It's not that hard to take your own life in prison.
It's also not that hard. It's also very hard to believe that the cameras went out by coincidence and that the guards weren't around and that, that there was obviously there exists an extremely strong motivation to take him out amongst the people he could implicate. Even like, how much do they really trust that he would have been shut up and that the court system?
Well, I think the people that really had the motivation to take him out were his victims, more so than the people that might have been implicated, because those people could have, they weren't going to be getting any trouble. Sure, they would have, their names would have been dragged through the mud, but they weren't going to get in any serious legal trouble. I think that the victims, the ones that were abused by him, those people probably had a bigger motivation. I don't think either group took him out. I just think it was.
I don't know, man. I suggest like there's some stuff that I really like. Everyone that's obviously true, that is really dark, and that everyone that tried to report it ends up dead in a hotel room one day before they can get the article out.
Hey guys, can I just I want to chime in on this. So I believe that Epstein did not kill himself, but I also don't think debating whether he killed himself or not is not an interesting discussion, to be honest with you.
It interests me that anyone could believe he didn't.
Can we switch to whether people walk on the moon or not? Is that a more interesting discussion? That was the fourth one. That was the one I forgot. Did people walk on the moon or not?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the debate whether we landed on the moon or not is a way more interesting discussion than whether Epstein killed himself, because I agree with you, Mechanic. To me, it's obvious that he didn't kill himself. But if someone does believe that he killed himself, it doesn't like change anything, like it just doesn't change anything, right? It doesn't. It doesn't matter.
Well, it does, because the implications of him being murdered are it's House of Cards level stuff. It's absolutely horrific.
No, but
There's
there are
no
no
rule of
implications,
law.
right? This is my point, right? Well, like the reason why it doesn't matter if he killed himself or not is because no one will ever investigate who killed him, right? So that's why it doesn't matter.
I don't know about that. All right, Motorist, what do you think man-made climate change is a thing?
No. Well, the short answer is no. The long answer is it's complicated, just like everything else. It's complicated. It's possible that humans are possibly affecting the climate, but that's a separate question from whether we can fix it. See, if I roll a boulder down a hill, I caused it, but just because I caused it doesn't mean I could stop that boulder. So I think that even the scientists, the climate alarmist scientists, even they will say that we're too late to stop it. So if that's the answer, it's too late to stop anything, then why are we even debating this? And so I think it's a big scam. Saifedean has talked about this. Tone has talked about this. Tone has promised that he's going to have a crypto scam episode on climate change for 10 years.
Yeah, sure.
And I think it's all bullshit. Like, again, it's not all bullshit. Yes, there's some things that are true. There might be some things, but it's a complex system. It's like if there's more CO2 in the air, that means there's more plants. If there's more plants, that means there's more ways to get rid of the CO2, which is plant food. And yeah, I mean, I think we probably agree on 99.9% of the climate change stuff, Mechanic. I think we're on the same page on that.
All right, good to know. Yeah, there's genuinely stuff I'm afraid to talk about on streams like this now. Like, I did my digging on. I don't even want to talk about it, but it's like some of the more extreme conspiracy theories out there they just broke my head to the point where I'm like, well, this is a thing that like the nut jobs around me and the Twitter accounts with 7 followers are talking about. Turns out it's true.
All right, hey guys, might be true. I got so many questions here. I want to get to at least partially answer them. Oil and gas field reserves in or near Gaza factored into Israel intentions. Yes, I've done full episodes on this. I don't want to talk about it for another hour and a half. I can. So much has to do with the oil and gas fields around Gaza. it all goes back to the Leviathan gas field. I will try my best to summarize it in less than 5 minutes, but even that will be absolutely challenging once I open the Google map. I will try to briefly explain it. Around 15 years ago, a massive oil and gas deposit was discovered in this part of the Mediterranean. All the countries surrounding this part of the Mediterranean would have had royalties of this oil and gas field extraction. So there was this mission by America and, of course, their proxy Israel to make sure every single country that had royalty rights and could profit from this oil and gas would give up their rights to that oil and gas, whether it was through the collapse of their country, voluntarily signing paperwork in exchange for financial assistance, or a regime change. And now this oil, you can Google it in Wikipedia, Leviathan gas field. I think it was discovered around 2008 or 2006. And the mission was to destroy every single country surrounding it. So let's go through the countries, okay? It started in Cyprus with their financial collapse, where Cyprus gave up royalties for an IMF bailout loan. Then the Greek banking crisis. So it was either you do it, it's like the book, Economic Hitman. Either, you do it through persuasion, or you do it through economic means, or eventually you send in the military. So Cyprus was destabilized, Greece was destabilized, Turkey is very hard to destabilize. Erdogan is still in power, so Turkey still has their rights. Libya, they say it was because of Gaddafi and gold. No one gives a shit about gold. It was because of Libya's rights to the Leviathan oil field. Jordan is not touching the ocean. I don't think they had rights to the gas and oil field. Syria did. So the destabilization of Syria. Lebanon did. The financial destabilization of Lebanon. And the Egypt has also been completely destabilized lately. Russia is trying to help out over there. Russia came in to help Syria. And so that was priority one. And of course, Palestine had a claim to this oil and gas. Actually, it literally comes in, it's like the biggest deposits are right here. That had a lot to do with it. Now, there was another factor to this, and this is where Ukraine comes in. This is why all of the kids of American politicians were working for Ukrainian gas companies. Burisma and like Hunter Biden and Pelosi's kid and all the others. There's like 4 sons of prominent senators and congressmen or vice presidents in American government that were working in Ukrainian gas companies. Now, why is that? Well, because the plan was, and Turkey is kind of a member of NATO, so they might have worked it out with Turkey. The plan was that there are additional gas deposits here in Africa. This is where like the Niger and Mali come in, and that was also a big problem. They were gonna create pipelines from here, Nigeria through Niger. Nigeria is kind of on board, but now Niger is not on board. This is why Nigeria was going to invade Niger when they kicked out the French. Again, Russia would have helped. The plan was to have gas pipes through Nigeria, through Niger, into the destabilized Libya now. These gas pipelines would have fed in along with the Leviathan gas field. And you feed this gas into Europe. But the easy way to do it is to just go through the Mediterranean and into Germany. But they had to go through Ukraine. Why did they have to go through Ukraine? Well, because Ukraine is the most corrupt country in the Northern Hemisphere, if not the world. And that's why all of these American politicians' kids were working for Ukrainian gas companies. Because this gas would go through Ukraine And that's where the bribes happen. That's where, all of these Americans and others would profit handsomely. So everyone that was going to profit was, Americans through Ukraine, because America doesn't have rights to the field. The Israelis would profit, and then Americans would profit through corruption through Ukraine. And now all this gas would flow into Europe, and this is why the pipeline, the Russian gas pipelines into Germany had to be cut off. Okay, now I can go into a lot more detail here, but this is the general overview of how gas deposits in the Mediterranean played a big role with everything you saw in the last 15 years in the destabilization of this eastern side of the Mediterranean, plus the whole Project Ukraine, as the Duran likes to say, and a lot of it had to do with the gas. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the whole Ukraine conflict might also be over energy, gas.
Right. So now they blew up the gas pipeline with Russia, but their project of using, Israel having sole rights to the Leviathan gas field extraction is failing. So they kind of, they blew up Germany's gas intake without a proper replacement. And now Germany is paying through the nose for LNG, which is liquefied natural gas, which needs to, come to Germany by ship. Okay, that was the answer to the gas question. Tone, Russia gets involved. How prepared is USA to fight them? I think I already answered that. The USA and actually no country in the world is prepared to fight Russia on the ground. Nobody. In the air. Like, look, the only war that anybody can win is on the ground. Okay, because you're not going to win a war in the air for the same reason, because you have to supply those airplanes, right? So a ground war neighboring Russia is unwinnable. The only country that has a chance is China, because China has also a very large military. They just don't have experience. But if China was to go into a ground war against Russia, let's say, for the lack of a better country, Kazakhstan, or in Mongolia, or directly with each other, they can both have a supply line to supply, and fix the tanks. The problem that America has is they can't supply a ground war, and they can't send their planes in because Russia has their planes that can be easier supplied and easier fixed. And Russia has better missiles. Russia can manufacture stuff behind the Ural Mountains in Siberia, which America can't get to, right? This is Russia's advantage. Russia can manufacture weapons right here in the center of the country and then move them by train to the front line. America can't do that. America can manufacture weapons in the middle of the country. It may be hard for Russia to shut down those factories if they're underground in the middle of America. But how is America going to supply them? Because the moment they're going by ship, they're sitting ducks. The moment they enter European soil, they're sitting ducks. Russia can just fire at them, right? Like Russia can fire a missile and destroy a factory in the middle of London if they want. And there's nothing London can do to stop it. Russia has Mach 10 speed weapons. America can't even fire off a Mach 2. China has Mach 20, though they haven't been battle tested. Okay, Russia is going to test their Mach 10 speed hypersonic missiles. All right, next.
Tone, has Russia sold hypersonic missiles to Iran? I was not able to find anything about it. Asked by Sam Snake.
I believe Iran has low-speed hypersonic missiles. Russia probably gave them the hypersonic missiles. They're not going to be using much, like those Mach 2, Mach 3 hypersonic missiles. They're not going to give Iran a Mach 10 because that would allow Iran to strike Germany or France without Germany or France being able to stop it. don't confuse ballistic missiles with hypersonic missiles, please, guys. Iran fired ballistic missiles at Israel. They did not fire hypersonic missiles. If Iran fires a hypersonic missile at Israel, the Iron Dome will not realize it's coming.
I know you're going to say this is technically not a question, but it was in the chat. Tone, the U.S. is having a tough time trying to sell bonds at the current rate. Bringing them down may result in no bid, by Felipe.
They're going to raise the interest rate. I mean, look, there's always a buyer of last resort. Okay. I mean, people will buy U.S. bonds. The interest rate might need to be 10%. So this, again, goes to my constant statement of the Fed ain't lowering the rate because the free market will not allow the rate to be lowered because America can't sell their bonds. This is why the interest rate will not go down. All right, next question.
The U.S. funds Iran, Iran funds Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis. They call for death to America and Israel. Israel wants to be left alone, but are they in the wrong? Asked by Michael.
So where is that question? Oh, okay, I see it. The U.S. fund. So Israel wants to be left alone. That is such bullshit. Israel does not want to be left alone. If Israel wanted to be left alone, they wouldn't have continued to expand into Palestinian territory the last 40 years and basically pushing them out of that land. So the Israel has not been wanting to be left alone. Israel created Hamas. Again, Brian Belitic explains this. Many others do as well. Hamas was the creation of Israel. Israel was the financial backer of Hamas. Now, even today, Brian Belitic tries to make the argument that Israel does not want to eliminate Hamas because eliminating Hamas prevents Israel from eliminating all Palestinians, which is it's a reasonable. Oh shit! I have to restart the stream. Which is a reasonable argument for that. So now Iran does not really fund Hamas either. So Iran funds Hezbollah. I completely believe that. I do not believe that Iran is the main financial backer of Hamas, not at the state level. Are there minor, is it like, let's just say if there were 5 countries or 5 organizations that supported Hamas with weapons and financially, and Iran was one of the 5, I would put them at number 5. Like, they're not the main supporters of Hamas. The only thing Hamas and Iran have in common is that they both don't like Israel. But Iran is now a member of the BRICS, and they don't really want to jeopardize their political position. So the last thing Iran was interested in was what happened on October 7th. Iran did not want that or didn't need that. Again, that's my opinion, all right? Now, did the Palestinians want October 7th to happen? Absolutely. And the main reason as to why they wanted it to happen is because Saudi Arabia was on the verge of a major economic and peace deal with Israel, creating major ties between Saudi Arabia and Israel. Now, a peace deal has already been struck between Iran and Saudi Arabia. So if Saudi Arabia creates a peace deal with Israel, that's one step closer to a peace deal between Israel and Iran. And the Palestinians wanted no part of this because the Palestinians, again, in my opinion, were watching the situation and going, the entire Muslim world is trying to be buddy-buddy with Israel, and Israel continues to run an open air concentration camp on our people. So Hamas decided to do something to put an end to peace between Saudi Arabia and Israel, completely ending the possibility of peace between Iran and Israel. And Hamas did an excellent job of that. If that was their goal, if their goal was to stop the peace deal between Saudi and Israel, they have, achieved what they wanted with flying success, right? Of course, at the expense of 30,000 Palestinian lives. But at the same time, they've shown how Israel can be demonized throughout the world by their retaliation on every single Palestinian. So that's kind of my view on what went down with October 7th. Now, this does not benefit Iran in any way whatsoever. Now, the Lebanon and Hezbollah situation is very different. Okay. Now, also don't forget, while I think that the Sunni-Shia divide is not, as like this as America wants you to believe. And again, the peace deal between Saudi and Iran proves that Shia and Sunni can get along. But at the same time, Hezbollah is Shia, just like Iran. But Hamas is basically the Muslim Brotherhood, which is Sunni. And they're mostly supported by factions in Egypt, which are not the current government in power of Egypt, but there's still lots of support for Hamas from Egypt. So if anyone was secretly helping Hamas, it was probably Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. Again, I could be wrong on some of this. I'm not again, I'm just like brushing up on this history. And Hamas was created by Israel in order to prevent Yasser Arafat from actually uniting the Palestinians and getting them their own state. And in order to create opposition to somebody that wanted peace between Israel and Palestine, Israel supported and largely created Hamas in order to have opposition inside Palestine that would not create peace between Israel and Palestine, allowing Israel to claim that they are defending themselves by removing all Palestinians from what is the Israeli borders. That's the real situation of what's happening here. So Israel creating Hamas is basically a fact. And now they're just not happy about it because it didn't go in their direction. Just like every other, Muslim moderate rebel faction that America and CIA creates. Oh yeah, Qatar helps Hamas as well. So I would put Egypt and Qatar in helping Hamas way before I put that Iran was helping Hamas. So everything gets blamed on Iran, right? Like everything south of the seas gets blamed on Iran. Everything north of the seas gets blamed on Russia. Yeah, Qatar definitely supports Hamas way more than Iran does. Iran provides Hamas very limited help.
All right, Tone, I gotta jump off. I'll ask one more question, and then you have the list of questions with you.
Yeah, I have it in front of me actually.
Okay, one of them might be a repeat, but the next one is, what's your opinion of the cloud seeding floods in Dubai these days? So I didn't know those floods had to do with cloud seeding, but I guess that's right.
So here's the thing. I don't know if this particular flood has to do with cloud seeding, and I don't really know how cloud seeding works. I just know that it's an artificial way to create rain. But like I said, this technology didn't exist when I was studying geology and when I took my meteorology classes. So I don't know how cloud seeding works.
I think
Um,
it's just you create a more extreme temperature gradient. That's all, because you create a bunch of white in the sky, and that reflects sunlight, and that cools the area
Right.
below where the
But
clouds are, and that causes condensation, and that
I know, but my specific like misunderstanding, or like I just don't know, I haven't looked it up, right? Is the lag effect, right? So for example, when I push a button for my sprinklers start, right? So like if a plane flies through, creating cloud seeding, does the rain follow the next day, right? Or is it like chemtrails? They spray cloud seeding constantly, and then eventually 3 months later, you get a rain, right? And in this case, if it's the latter, if the way cloud seeding works is you're slowly seeding it, and then eventually a rainstorm is coming, and the rainstorm is just stronger. Or do you like throw shit in the sky, and then the next thing you know, it falls down as rain? So I don't know the cause, the creation, and what are the effects. So I have no idea if this storm is a direct result of only cloud seeding, or is this a natural storm that was coming through, because they knew that the storm was coming like a week ago, right? Like, again, how accurate is this cloud seeding to the minute? And was it a natural storm that happened to combine with the cloud seeding that they've been doing for the last 3 months, and bam, they got a flood? So I just don't know what kind of an effect cloud seeding had. I did know that there were cloud seeding. I've been in Dubai when there was a rainstorm. The rainstorm was pretty bad. The streets flooded, but the next day it was as if nothing happened. Now, the reason why Dubai floods like that is because Dubai has no sewers. There's no drainage. Like when you walk around countries that have rain, there's storm drains. There's like holes, there's manholes, there's holes in the ground for water to go. Dubai doesn't have that because they never have rain. So why would they build city infrastructure for the rainwater to flow under the city if it never rains? So when it rains, it's basically a holiday and everyone stays home. It's just that they haven't had a rain this big in a while. And how much effect cloud seeding had on it, I have no idea. So, okay, what's your opinion? Oh, yeah, that's the cloud seeding question. That's the hypersonic missile question. Is it time to buy MSTR? I have absolutely no idea. Look, MSTR is a proxy for Bitcoin. If Bitcoin goes up, MSTR is going to go up more. If Bitcoin doesn't go up, MSTR is going to fall. So we can open MSTR stock.
it's leveraged Bitcoin exposure.
Yeah.
It's not just Bitcoin exposure.
Correct. It's leveraged Bitcoin exposure. And after the halving, there'll be less Bitcoin to go around. So right now, the weekly chart is very bearish. And I would wait for an MRI buy opportunity. I'd wait for an MRI buy, maybe. MSTR, if it falls down to $1,000, could be a way to double your money. It's a lot easier for MSTR to double than for Bitcoin to double.
This is like, from a miner's perspective, this is the second halving in 14 months. Because 14 months ago, the difficulty was half of what it is right now. So literally, this is just a repeat of what's happened over that period. Maybe, I don't know, the fees have been pretty high the whole time in that period, actually.
So someone is asking me how come I don't trade altcoins to get more Bitcoin. For the same reason I didn't trade penny stocks when I was trading stocks. I prefer to trade larger cap stocks because to me they're more predictable with technical analysis. And in order for you to be a successful shitcoin trader, you need to be in the Telegram groups with the pump and dumpers. And I don't like that game, so I don't touch shitcoins. Do I think Israel will strike back at Iran? I do. I do think that. I think there's enough people that are crazy to do that. So I think the majority of the American politicians and the American military does not want a war with Iran. But there is enough crazies in the American administration, and there is more than enough crazies in Israel that do want an outright war with Iran. And I don't understand why. I really, really don't. Like, Iran has been demonized to such an extent. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, every Persian I ever met is been like the nicest person. I don't get it. I don't understand the outright hatred for Iran. Yes, I'm not a fan of Sharia law. And back in the 1950s, Iran wasn't like that. And I do go to Dubai. I go to Saudi Arabia. They're becoming more and more relaxed on Sharia laws, and Iran is going to get there as well. I think over time, as they become more economically entangled with Russia, China, the BRICS, I mean, they're going to relax the Sharia law rules. I mean, look at Dubai. They're going to have casinos soon. So I think Iran is being unnecessarily demonized. And I think it's better to work with Iran economically than to try to pick a war with them. But everyone wants to pick a war with Iran. So yes, I do believe that Israel is going to escalate. And one of the reasons why I was not interested in getting on a plane that would fly between Israel and Iran is for the possibility of a false flag in order to create a war between Russia and between America and Iran. All right, next. Question from Mechanic. Blocks are moving so fast, but why are some taking like 45 minutes? You know, there was a presentation by Bob Burnett at the last BitBlock Boom. Mel, I'm not sure who asked that question. I know you wrote it to me, but I'm not sure who asked it. Go check out Bob Barnett's presentation from the past BitBlock Boom, where there was a huge difference between the average time of a block and the median time to find that block. So either a block gets found very, very quickly, or it takes a very long time. So that 10-minute average is really an average of 5 blocks being found in less than 5 minutes, and then 1 block being found 15 minutes later. That's what really creates that 10-minute average over, let's say, a day or close to 10 minutes. I don't know if Mechanic has any additional information as to why that is, but that is the reality. If you sit there and watch blocks, you will see very often blocks found within 2-3 minutes of each other, often. And then suddenly it takes an hour.
Yeah, that's just how Poisson distributions work. You don't find them once every 10 minutes. That's not how it works. It's just what you described is accurate. Well, I don't really get that. Holy, what the fuck just happened in an Antpool block? Someone just paid 112,000 sats per byte for a transaction fee. Someone just paid like $10,000 for a transaction. I'm trying to find it. Where is it? But yeah, it's just Poisson distribution. You never really get them longer for like 2 hours, and it's supposed to average out exactly 2 weeks for 2016 blocks. And if it's quicker or slower, it adjusts the difficulty accordingly. But the hard, unintuitive part to get your head around is, if it's been 10 minutes since the last block, it's still roughly going to take another 10 minutes before a block is found. You're not guaranteed a block when you've been waiting for 10 minutes, but that's the unintuitive part of it.
Jesus Christ.
I'm trying to find that transaction. I wish there was I wish Mempool highlighted the absurd fee ones.
It's not going to show up?
Hold on, are you looking at the... I don't know where it is. I don't know how you find it. like
Well, here's a $3,000 fee.
I'm looking for it.
Yeah, but the rate was only 111 sets per byte, not 111,000. It should be in here.
I agree, but I don't know how to.
Maybe it's a bug on.
Nah, it's not a bug. I doubt it. Their site's pretty solid. Coin join. Where is it? Oh, I'm forever doing this. Looking, mousing over 2,000 transactions to try and find the high paying one. Where is it?
Like, I would have thought it showed up over here. Well,
No, it might be added.
it might have been. It might have been off chain. Like,
Yeah, this is fun because if you have like an out of band, I mean, Antpool do have an accelerator. So if you have an out of band way of putting in weird transactions into your blocks, if they overpay a lot, it bankrupts the other pools because they have to match the rate that the average block reward is worth. So if you're Ant pool and you keep putting in transactions like that, even if they're your own, the other pools have to pay more out per share from what their miners contribute, even though those other pools aren't bringing in the income. And the
So
reverse.
isn't that awesome for Ocean?
Ocean has nothing to do with it because the only thing that happens with Ocean is
Right. No, I'm just saying, isn't this a good thing for Ocean because
Yeah,
you can't go bankrupt?
it's yeah, of course, because Ocean doesn't take on the risk. We don't try and make it
Right.
so that you get paid even if no blocks are found, we pay you imaginary money and just sort of try and make ourselves square with the blockchain. We don't do that. But the funny thing is, the other pools need every other pool to not mess around. If the other pools underpay their miners, then your pool wins because you get to underpay your miners too. If the other pools overpay based on what's in their blocks, then you have to do the same thing and you go bankrupt very quick. So it's been pretty amusing. The only pool that doesn't do FPPS now that is even semi-practical is Ocean. Every single other pool is FPPS. So the minute Mara pool announced Slipstream, it was over because you have to trust other pools not to mess with your calculations. And it's become pretty clear now they don't do it. Let's go.
Hey guys, if you have mining rigs and you actually want to support the Bitcoin network, you should be pointing your miners to the Ocean mining pool. It is the only pool that is acting in good interest for Bitcoin's decentralization. So move your miners to this pool. It can use some hash rate. It's good for the network. And once this pool reaches 1 to 2% of the network, we will then entrust the Bitcoin network will become a lot more secure.
Yeah, it's bad right now. And Ocean is much better in like a bunch of ways that I wish I wasn't too tired to really reel off right now. But, you know, the FPPS thing's about to get wild because subsidies halving and transaction fees are about to become the main source of revenue for miners, or at least 50% of what miners earn. No, that's not accurate either. It's probably going to be around a Bitcoin per block in transaction fees for the next month or two, if not more. And then you have the 3 1/8 Bitcoin subsidy. So transaction fees are going to be a massive part of it. And FPPS is where they get to pocket stuff and not pay you because no miner can calculate what they were supposed to get. The pools don't tell you what their calculation was when they calculate what they owe you per share. So there's no shenanigans with Ocean because you just get a split of the block that we find. That's it. The disadvantage is that if we don't find any blocks, you don't get any money. But that's just reality. And if you don't want to live in the real world, you can mine with FPPS, which is fun until you realize the pool that's providing that service is offering you a free lunch that isn't really free. And look how bad fee estimators are. So the fact that Antpool just found that block 7 minutes ago meant that all the fee estimators in the shitty wallets jumped up. So now people are paying way higher than they're supposed to pay in the block after that, which came 6 minutes after the previous one. So there wasn't a big gap between blocks making fees go super high. But every time you see one of those anomalous transactions where like someone accidentally pays, you know, $10,000 transaction fee or something, the next few blocks will have really high transaction fees as well because someone looked at them and went, "Oh, fees are really high," or some wallet did, some algorithm made a mistake. That happens every time there's a mistake. Where's that transaction? Still
All
looking
right,
for
so
it.
while you continue to figure out that transaction, someone asked a question about AMC. I thought AMC was a penny stock at one point. So I don't know what happened. Maybe they reverse split. I have no idea. But is AMC gonna come back? No. It's done. All right, what else we got? Oh, the Lakers won, by the way. No one should have been surprised. I'm gonna go and take a look at the free throw discrepancy in the Laker game box score. NBA games. Oh, Warriors started playing. I should have that game running in the background. Lakers against the Pelicans. Let's see stats. Let's look at free throws. Lakers 29, Pelicans 15. What a surprise. Lakers shot 26 of 29 from the line for 90%. That gave them an extra 15 points versus the Pelicans, who shot 11 of 15. 15-point free throw advantage, and they only won by 4 points. I personally like Golden State, and I hate the Lakers. And this is why I did not want Golden State playing the Lakers in a playing game. And now Golden State actually has a chance. They first have to beat Sacramento, which they should be able to. And then they'll have to beat the Pelicans, which they also should be able to. But there is a reason why the Lakers has shot more free throws than almost the entire league combined over the last 3 years. Okay. Mechanic, you want to talk some more? Because I got to go use the restroom.
Yeah, go for
Motorists,
it.
congratulations. The Lakers cheated. Nope, sorry. The Lakers won. And they're moving on to play the Denver Nuggets. So that is your prize.
So that's what they call a Pyrrhic victory, because the Denver Nuggets are the worst matchup for the Lakers, and they're probably going to get spanked in the first round. Unfortunately, the Lakers were actually better off losing that game, and because they had a chance against the Thunder because they match up well against the Thunder. But the Lakers have only beat the Nuggets twice in their last 10 games because they're just a horrible matchup for the Lakers. So unfortunately, no long playoff run for the Lakers this year because the Lakers cheated to play against the worst possible team they could play.
All right, so Tone, I sent you the link for that transaction that overpaid 1,300 times higher than expected.
Was that mined by Ocean or was it mined by one of the other pools?
No, it's Antpool.
Oh,
I
dude,
think
I
it's,
wish it was mined by Ocean.
yeah, I know. We've mined a few good ones like that. They tend to, this is the fee sniping, but not, I wish we wouldn't use this term because fee sniping means something else, but people are using it to explain spam at the moment.
So they paid $18,000 fee.
Yeah, 18.
How much?
almost
How much Bitcoin did they send?
29 million sats for the fee. The
Point.
Bitcoin sent is, as far as I can tell, this isn't actually spam. I don't get what this is.
Well,
Wait a
how
minute.
much Bitcoin transferred in the transaction? It looks like not much.
No, I think they're just writing arbitrary data again. This is some sort of token mint or something.
So somebody spent $18,000 minting some shit.
No, but if you look, are you on the website? Yeah, right. So if you scroll up, you can see that it was RBF'd a bunch of times. They call that fee sniping, but fee sniping used to mean something else. Fee sniping used to refer to if there's just a very expensive transaction and it gets in a block, miners don't mine another block. They remine the block with the expensive transaction in it because they can make more than subsidy. That's like an attack in the future when there's no subsidy anymore, like because you want that lucrative transaction. Anyway, when they're talking about fee sniping now, they've redefined it to mean there are certain transactions where you can, I think it's the mechanism involves using PSBTs where they can keep changing something about the transaction to try and get the JPEG or the rune or the NFT or whatever it is. I don't know specifically what this is, but you can see the RBF history there. And so people are aggressively trying to win that bid by placing higher and higher bids. And they won, whoever it was won that bid by paying freaking $19,000 in fees, which is
All right, I'm gonna use the restroom, but keep explaining this.
yeah.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
Yeah, I think. Hold on, I just messaged my friend because he knows more about it than I do. That's what it is. It's a spam snipe, but there isn't much. Well, Tone left it scrolled up, but if you scroll down a bit and press details, you can see that there's a bunch of push bytes. And a very suspicious output of 330 sats. So it's actually a non-standard transaction too. So this must have been submitted directly to Antpool's accelerator. Does it say it was added? No, it says it was expected in block. Though I don't know if it says that after the fact, even if it wasn't seen by mempool itself. I didn't see this in the mempool.
Hey, mechanic, I'm trying to pull up that transaction. I don't know if I can share screen. We may just have to wait for him to come back, but actually, maybe you could try to do it. I don't know if you want to dox your own screen. Let's see if it'll let you pull up.
No, it's all right. Well, there's not even that much useful data down there. I already conveyed what it contains anyway. There isn't a massive JPEG or anything. It's something else, but it's definitely spam.
Well, this is an important thing because you were talking about the FPPS, and maybe some people who are mining may not know that they're not actually.
Well,
sorry about that. They may not actually be mining on Bitcoin. They don't know what they're mining. They're basically the pool is just renting their hashing power and just paying them for it. And if there's some big transaction that comes through like a fat fingered 50 Bitcoin transaction fee, they're never going to see that because there's no way. And as basically as the block reward goes down, so maybe not this halving, but maybe the next halving 4 years from now, it's just going to be impossible to keep doing FPPS. So this is basically a subtle attack on the entire mining network. And the only way you can just mine these days, there's only is either solo mine or do it with Ocean, where you're only getting paid based on the blocks that Ocean finds, which is the only sane way to do it that doesn't eventually turn into a scam.
yeah. Go ahead, Tom.
I got a question. So, okay, let me let you answer motorist first, though. Then I'll ask a question.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just gonna sort of think out loud for a second. I'm not sure what the actual question was, to be honest with you.
Well, sorry, it wasn't a question. It was just another reason to mine with Ocean is if you're mining with another pool, even if it's Brains, because Brains is under the same, regime now.
Like, look at the way to explain FPPS is this, right? We find 144 blocks a day. That's the entire network finds that on average. When you point your hash at a pool that, let's say for simplicity, has 50% of the network, which Bitmain pretty much does, but we pretend they don't because we like to pretend we're decentralized. So let's say that Bitmain has 50% of the network. They're finding exactly half of that. And for whatever reason, Bitmain's blocks don't have as many fees as the blocks found by all the other pools. FPPS as a system says that the fees they must pay their miners is 50% of what the total fees are on the network. That includes all the blocks found by the other pool that's making more money. What that literally means is that Antpool is not earning enough money to pay its miners what it's telling them it owes them. So what this amounts to in reality is they don't actually do what FPPS says they're supposed to do. They look at their own blocks and decide what they can afford to pay their miners, even though the system is supposed to pay out based on a network-wide average. The network-wide average doesn't work because you need other pools not to piss you off. You need other pools not to put stuff in their blocks that messes up your calculation. So if there's ever an accidental fee, I know Foundry got screwed by this when that guy paid an 83 Bitcoin transaction fee and Antpool picked up the transaction. that meant Foundry had to pay all its miners more, right? Are you with me? Because their calculation says that's how much fees have been over the average on the last 24 hours. But Foundry never found a block that had that money in it, right? Antpool did. So where does that money come from? It just comes out of Foundry's pocket. Now, it doesn't average out. You don't get to say, well, sometimes Foundry will earn more than the FPPS calculation says they need to pay, and it all balances out. It doesn't. You just get weird anomalies that make one little pool go bankrupt. And as a result of that, and miners being too lazy to really figure out how much of a closed system this all of the small pools that are FPPS are basically just fronts for Bitmain, and in one case, F2 pool, which is giving us the illusion of decentralization, but it's very cushy for the pools. The smaller pools get to offer their miners completely regular, consistent payouts and act like there's no compromise or to the integrity of Bitcoin. And the bigger pools get to look smaller than they really are. That's the problem, because no one wants to look like they have 50% of the hash rate. Because if you look like you have 50% of the hash rate, people are going to get spooked and abandon your pool because it's going to tank the value of Bitcoin. So what you do instead is you set up little fake storefronts that are really the same store that are smaller pools, and they give people the illusion of choice and the illusion of decentralization, but it's a false reality. But it works for all of the pools, and it doesn't work for the network. So that's the current state of things.
And did you see Mechanic that when Mara did that weird block where they basically just put an M, and then they tweeted out that because they knew that it was going to mess up the FPPS calculations, they tweeted out saying, we're requesting the other pools don't include this block in their FPPS calculations. And then Alan Farrington retweeted it and completely misunderstood what Mara was saying, and because Alan Farrington doesn't really grasp what the problem is. He kind of thinks that there's no problem with what's going on here.
Right. Well, that's the thing, though. It means they all have to. The pools can cooperate and make FPPS work properly, but that's not supposed to be what keeps them honest. It's not supposed to be a tiny cartel of price fixing that happens every 24 hours that dictates what you get paid when you lease your hash rate to the centralized arbiters of what gets in the blockchain and what doesn't. That's completely broken. That is nothing like how Bitcoin's security was designed. It's supposed to be an adversarial environment where no one trusts anyone else and you get transparency as a result. Instead, the system's completely opaque. You basically have price fixing and rate rigging. So the FPPS system feels to me like Libor, like one of these things where they just come along every 24 hours and say, this is what a thing is worth, and they decree it every day, and then they don't provide any evidence for what that's supposed to result in. But I mean, it's getting worse than this. Like I've been spouting this stuff for the last few months, but there's some things we're discovering lately that have actually shocked me, that I really can't believe. But I mean, I'm not ready to get into it yet. I need about another month before I can start like exposing some much bigger bombshells here that might just blow up the whole mining industry, but it might not. We don't really
Stay
have
tuned,
the
everyone. Follow Bitcoin
Stay tuned.
Mechanics. Follow
Yeah.
Grassfed Bitcoin on Twitter. Stay tuned. He's going to be dropping a bombshell in about a month or so.
I am. It might be a nothing burger. So but I'm honestly like struggling to not discuss this stuff. Hey, there's dark mode, by the way, Tone. It looks a lot better. If you click on this, yeah, there you go.
Sure.
Yeah,
So
thanks.
people are wondering why Ocean's hash rate just dropped from 1 exahash down to 250 petahash.
Yeah, so click on the 6-month chart if you go over to the left. So there's this miner who shall remain nameless who has
Oh, I know what it is.
right. So it's not the first time this has happened. It's not the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. There is one miner that I believe they're just curtailing because when you have rolling, energy spikes and things like that in Texas or wherever, it's more logical for them to turn off because the electricity price spikes so much. Riot will like explain this all to you as well. Like they
Yeah,
voluntarily turn off every now and again.
That's the answer. There is a large miner on the Ocean pool that has to shut down for a short period of time due to reasons. So he'll be back up very shortly.
Yeah, I wish people would get used to it because it spooks everyone every single time it happens. Um, it seems to be hurting their machines because the general downtrend you see there is all from that same miner as well. So if you have a miner, don't turn it off and on a lot because you lose it. You have like a 1 in 200 chance of that miner not turning back on again, particularly if it's like an S19K Pro or something. Those are like incredibly flimsy. So yeah, don't turn your miner off and on a lot. You'll break it eventually. It's called curtailment, says Bernoulli. You're right.
And these are all the blocks you guys found, huh?
Yeah, we tend to find them in clumps of 3.
Yeah.
Like we'll have a really bad time where there's no block for like 6 days, and then we'll find 3 in one day. And it's fun because miners actually care about it. Like no one watches the blockchain with other pools because it has nothing to do with what you get paid. With Ocean, you only get paid when we find a block, and you don't get any money if we don't. That's the price of transparency and permissionlessness. We can't pay you money that doesn't exist.
And also the out of bound payments that everyone is saying, is going to be an issue. Those don't show up in FTPS payments. So,
Well, that's not an FPPS thing. That's just transparency. Like if you go to where it says next block tone, that's where we show what the next block is, and we show how you can mimic that. Scroll
it's
up.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, underneath where it says dashboard, there's 3 little things. Yeah, so that is what the next block is going to look like. No other pool says that, and if we stuck out of band transactions in there, it would be obvious immediately. It's obvious immediately when other pools do it, but not until the block appears. We show it before the block would show up, which is a radical difference. All the turquoise stuff at the top is real transactions that wouldn't make it into Bitcoin Core blocks. If you click on Core up at the top left of your screen, you'll see go to the right. Yeah, the third bubble, Core, yeah. If you click on that, you see how much spam is currently in Bitcoin Core in a standard template created by standard Bitcoin Core's mempool policies. It looks pretty bad right now. There's
Well, which one is spam? The blue or the orange?
the poo brown color is spam.
That's spam. So this giant fee transaction is spam.
Yeah, click on it and click on the link and go to it, and I'll show you what to look for because that looks like one I do actually know how to decipher. So it's labeled as an inscription on mempool space, but if you scroll down, you can see the witness. Right. So all of the outputs are 546 sats. That's to fit within the spam filters that people say don't work. Those could all be 0 sats if filters didn't work, and they're wasting thousands of dollars every transactions to fit inside the spam filter. It's just funny to me that people say they don't work. But anyway, press details at the go
Well, the
down a little bit.
spammers, obviously the spammers are going to say spam filters don't work because they don't want you to use them.
Right, but the point is they'll spend thousands of dollars to fit in the spam filters because obviously they want the public mempool. It's really useful. So anyway, press details. Go down a little bit below all the blue lines. Then to the right, where it says just go down a little bit. No, there you go. Press details. Yeah, click on it.
Trying. It's too big for my browser.
It might crash your browser tab. Actually, sorry, because that's how much spam they're uploading.
Yeah, you're right.
I tried to upload the spam, like the hex. This isn't even the binary, the hex, which is a pretty condensed format, into a Twitter post, and it crashed my browser tab. That's how much spam got uploaded there into the blockchain, and it's all inside the witness data. And if you can get that if you can get that details thing to open, you can just click show more inside the witness data field, and you'll be scrolling for like 45 minutes trying to get to the bottom of it. That's how much data is getting stored on 100,000 nodes that don't want it, that has nothing to do with Bitcoin. And everyone's just ignoring it. It drives me crazy. This is broken. Like, we actually broke Bitcoin when we introduced some of the changes we've done lately. And there you go. It's open. Scroll down a little bit. If your browser can actually deal with it. I'm worried Tom's just going to disconnect in a minute. Oh man. Usually there's one big conglomerated lump of witness data, but it looks like this is separating it all. Oh
This
wait,
one?
there you go. It's in there somewhere.
So
Like
that's
there'll be.
discount.
That's it. That's it. So where it says show all, go up a little bit. Yeah, if you click that, we might lose you here if you click that.
I'm not gonna do that.
Like it's just so much data. Like it's like someone might have uploaded the Lord of the Rings or something. Just but yeah, that's it. That's all the data, and this isn't using the op. Yeah, there you go. Look, that's the envelope. Did it break your tab?
No, I just scrolled up.
You can see the envelope if you scroll up to where where it showed all the witness data. You can see it. You can see it. I'm not sure exactly where to look on mempool, but yeah, you can see it using the op false, op if, op end if, which is really simple. All they're doing is saying this is code that's never designed to execute, so that nodes ignore it, they don't run it, and they upload a bunch of data inside that unexecutable code that will be ignored, and that's it. They're literally just it's like cars driving down a toll road, and then someone says, "This next 5,000 vehicles aren't cars," and then everyone just goes, "Oh, okay," and they all drive down the road, and they don't pay any toll because someone said they're not cars. That's basically how stupid this is, and it all gets to use, or how badly designed rather, and it all gets to take advantage of the witness discount too, which is what really hurts about it, because this stuff is cheaper on a byte for byte basis than real transactions. It's a quarter of the price. That's where it really hurts, because the witness discount was supposed to do the opposite. It was supposed to make people consolidate UTXOs, not create a bunch of them. And it's just really tragic that we've made such a big mistake.
Is there a soft fork that could resolve this?
There are two. You could do it as a soft fork. It's generally not the way we want to approach it, because spam changes and iterates all the time, and soft forks are a very, very harsh tool to use for something like that, because playing a game of cat and mouse with soft forks is just not really doable. They'll change it the minute you finally get the thing active. You can do it.
Can we roll back Taproot and get rid of it?
No, we can't, but we could put guardrails on it really easily, where you just say there's a limit to the amount of tap script there is, and you close the known exploits.
Mechanic.
Yeah.
Quick question. Let's say there's someone who's watching the stream right now that doesn't like this stuff, Bitcoin. What is it besides, if they're mining? Obviously, they can point their miners to Ocean. But let's say they're not a miner. What can they do to help mitigate this stuff or to help slow it down?
Well, most of it's narrative, right? If this had happened in 2014, we would have fixed it in 20 minutes. And we did. That's what the op return war was about, and that's why we have op return now.
Whoa, what the hell was that?
Well, the point is, people could upload arbitrary data in the chain, and it was always considered a bad thing, and Satoshi didn't like it, and Satoshi implemented the first spam filters to get rid of it, and then said there are more things we can do if necessary. And this sort of meme that transaction fees is the only spam filter you need was never true, and it was never how Bitcoin was designed. But anyway, there are really bad ways you can do spam on Bitcoin. Some are really harmful, some aren't harmful at all, or some aren't. Everything is harmful, but it's not. Some is better than others. So anyway, the op return wars was basically people deciding, are we going to be practical about this and give them a way to put spam on the chain that is the least harmful way to do it? Or are we going to be idealistic and say there shouldn't be any arbitrary data stored on this thing, block it completely, and then they find really bad ways to do it because we don't give them an alternative? So eventually pragmatism won out, and we said, all right, let's give them op return. Op return is provably prunable outputs. You can send sats to them if you want, but you don't have to. But any transaction can just have an op return added to it, and that op return can contain arbitrary data. It doesn't get to use the witness discount, and by default, it was limited to 42 bytes. That moved around a bunch. In knots, it's still 42 bytes, which is why Samurai's pre-transactions don't get into Ocean's default blocks. But in core, that got raised up to 83 bytes. So you can have a bigger op return in core. You can have a much bigger op return than 83 bytes still if you want, but then you need to go outside the spam filter policy of the majority of the network and submit directly to a pool. You can remain within consensus, if you have an op return all the way up to 10,000 bytes, I believe, 10 kilobytes, which is 1% of a block if they were still 1 megabyte. So the op return wars was basically Vladimir and Luke Jr. and Jeff Garzik when he wasn't an idiot, and a couple of others saying, we don't want this stuff, get it out. Nick Szabo said, if you're going to do stuff like this, upload a hash into Bitcoin. Don't load the data, right? If you want to upload an NFT or a JPEG or whatever, upload the hash of that file, not the actual file. And then you can fit inside the 42-byte op return limit, and it doesn't really hurt anyone. You can run an entire sidechain with just that. Open timestamps doesn't do a massive amount of data inside there, right? And no one really complains about it or calls it spam. So what's going on now with this post-Taproot screw up where you can upload like 3 megabyte JPEG in one transaction is just literally something being broken. That's not supposed to be possible, and it just wasn't caught. There's been some revisionism and people rewriting history saying it was supposed to happen, but it's just an arbitrary data. It's an injection attack. It's a data injection attack. It's like, if you can grab the database of every AT&T user by writing something weird in the username field when you sign in, that's a bug, right? You don't treat that as a valid use case of anything. It's obviously a bug. So yeah, the op return was Jonathan Beer wrote a good article on it on BitMEX research, and it's good. It's really good history. Luke was there, Vladimir was there. As I said, Jeff Garzik was there, and he was great. Before SegWit 2x happened, Jeff Garzik was an incredible asset to Bitcoin. And, and you had, what was that conversation between Gavin and Satoshi where Gavin said, my evil little mind wants to figure out how I can get around this to upload Lady Gaga videos. And that in that conversation was Satoshi saying, yes, we need to figure out how to prevent people from doing this. And it's just always been a given until it happened recently, and now and people that are getting rich off it call it censorship, but it's not. It's just trying to design a system to do a thing and not compromise it by opening it up to use cases that undermine that thing. This is just engineering. It's got nothing to do with politics. There's no political issue with people making certain kinds of payments. It's literally just, there's a way to insert arbitrary data that was an accident. That's not stopping. That is just an engineering problem. It's not but it's turned into politics, which has made it unpalatable.
So if anybody's listening to this and wants to help out, you can, besides pointing your miners to Ocean, you can also go to bitcoinnots.org. And if you're running a node, you can run a knots node, or you can just change the filters manually in your core node. If you're running a core node and you don't want to use knots, so those are two ways that you can help mitigate the stuff. And to back up what Mechanic was saying, one person that agrees with Mechanic based on the book, I read Roger's book, and Roger says that it was actually 42 bytes. So anyone who says that it was 80 bytes is wrong, and Roger will back us up on that.
Well, that's another thing. These big blockers are completely in agreement with this recharacterization of Bitcoin's purpose. There is a section in Roger Vere's new book where he says Bitcoin core developers, another conspiracy he levies at them is that they're stifling the ability to store arbitrary data in Bitcoin's blockchain. And that's another way that they're scheming to keep blocks small, and they're stifling innovation by not allowing arbitrary data storage. So the people that want this stuff are totally in alignment with Roger Ver. I hope that's clear.
But shouldn't that have been clear, like without Roger's statement in his book? Like you want a bunch of crap in there. Like anyone that's treating the Bitcoin blockchain as free unlimited data storage is just an insane human being.
Well, you get it, Tone. I know you get it. You pointed out that the reason most people are smarter than Vitalik Buterin is because they understand that you need to be able to run a node, and if you're not able to run a node, you have a shitcoin. That's it. There's there's no equivocation around that.
I understood this back like in 2015, like before Ethereum even existed, that like Bitcoin is not free unlimited data storage, and You know, there was a little point in time where there was debatable whether increasing the block to 2 megabytes would make sense. And it was very obvious after the investigation that it wasn't going to make sense. And even if it made sense, they still realized that they can't do it.
Mm-hmm. I like to say we were all big blockers once. And this is the thing, man. There's like, what's the name of the psychological phenomenon where someone has an opinion you used to have that you realized was bullshit and you cringe every time they open their mouth? What is that? It's like when you're 30 years old and you watch some 18-year-old at college with a bunch of socialist rhetoric and you're like, oh man, I used to think that stupid shit too.
Right.
Like you're gonna grow up. That's how I felt about big blocks because we were all big blocks. We all thought they were like that Bitcoin needed to scale and making blocks a little bit bigger seemed to make sense. And it's stupid. It's not scaling. It doesn't work. It doesn't improve anything. All it does is make the nodes get abused and treated as though they are a generic file storage medium. And it's great. If you want to store your files forever, use the Bitcoin blockchain. Great. But the problem is you're abusing a resource that doesn't have any sort of financial compensation. Like, I want to, if you're going to store, if you're going to treat nodes like they are that, like they are just some abusable public resource with no consideration for the game theory around it, then don't be surprised when people stop running nodes. That's all. And then when they stop running nodes, you just have a shitcoin. That's it. That's the definition of a shitcoin is Bitcoin without any nodes. That's why Bitcoin gets to hold itself up and go, I'm better than all you shitcoins. It's because we have tens of thousands of nodes. And if you go, they don't matter, we'll just store gigabytes of data on them. We're going to bloat the UTXO. The UTXO set has doubled in just over a year. That's fucked. Like, it cannot do that. And the whole point of the witness discount was to do the opposite. So it's completely broken. The design of and the intention of the development decisions we've made for the last, 9 years around trying to shrink that thing didn't work the way they're supposed to. So you can either accept that and try and fix it or go, oh, every time we open a pull request on Bitcoin Core, Udi and his fucking idiot friends all start going, that's censorship. And then the pull request gets closed by Core because they're too embarrassed to, be called out on it and they don't want the controversy. So that's not good enough. And in these circumstances before, you just have rogue clients. So Bitcoin Core would have let SegWit just time out. They were not about UASF or BIP148 or any of that. They just would have said, all right, the miners didn't give us SegWit, so it's gone. So you had three versions of Bitcoin. You had the big blocker one that forked off into Bitcoin Cash. You had Bitcoin Core, which would have just done nothing and had SegWit, fall off the face of the earth. And then you had the rogue supporters of the network that picked up where Core left off and made a forcing activation client for SegWit. That's now what Bitcoin is, because SegWit was inside Bitcoin and it needed to be activated by another client. Same thing kind of happened with Taproot. Different perspectives on that. I don't know how that went down exactly. I disagree with Luke on that. The first time I was ever on your show, Tone, was because of the Taproot activation client that we released. And then the minute we did that, Core released their activation client and everything had identical parameters and, Taproot just got activated. But now we're in a situation where, Core are leaving these spam filters in there. And the problem is you have people like Peter Todd who takes the exact opposite position of me, who thinks nodes are totally an abusable public resource and we need to get rid of all the filters we have now just so that mining pools might use us and not go out of band. Now, I think that's a joke. I think no one's going to do that. There's no financial compensation for it. It doesn't make any kind of sense. But it's at least coherent because my position of having filters that work and Peter Todd's position of having no filters are at least coherent. What Bitcoin Core does at the moment is it has filters that don't work. They just don't do anything. So if that's the case, you just have a bunch of design and parameters inside Bitcoin Core that are doing stuff that objectively isn't working. So you have a data carrier size variable that says no more than 83 bytes of arbitrary data are allowed in. And then there's the transaction I just showed you, which had, an absolutely absurd amount of data inside it because the data carrier size variable doesn't reflect things that are being used to carry data, right? So Core are just sort of going, this is broken. There's nothing we can do about it. We're just leaving it as it is. So I think you get the three different forks again. You get Udi and their gang. They tried to fork in OpCat in about a week or two, which is actually going to be pretty scary because they're getting a lot of people to spin up nodes, and they've got a lot of miners that like the money they get from the spam. You've got Bitcoin Core, which is just going to do nothing as usual, and I kind of understand why. And then you have the third option, which is Bitcoiners and monetary maximalists, and whatever term you want to use for us, people that are not about what's going on in Bitcoin right now. They have to probably run the first URSF, where we say we are going to actively block OpCat from getting activated on the network. That's going to be a brutal fight.
What does the R stand for?
So user-resisted soft fork, which is the response to a user-activated soft fork to try and block it. Because soft forks are, you can get a soft fork in without consensus or without anyone around, right? You can just add a new rule to Bitcoin and start enforcing it with some miners, and that is Bitcoin at that point. Like, it was only like 500 of us that got SegWit in, right? It wasn't the majority of the network. It
was certainly not the majority, man. I was ready to just lose all my Bitcoin for that.
Yeah, right. So that was how it worked. URSF is when someone is doing a UASF and you're trying to stop them. Because if you don't do anything against the UASF, it just happens, especially if you've got a lot of nodes and a lot of hash rate on your side. And if taking a look at the Bitcoin network right now, 99.8% of the hash rate is in favor of spam or paying no attention to it. So if that's the case, they're probably going to be able to get a decent amount of hash rate mining on their fork, and it's only a soft fork that is in favor of OpCat. And OpCat is a disaster. Satoshi got rid of it for a good reason, but it helps the spammers, and it allows them to troll in yet another way. So right now they can price out real activity with transaction fees. We know that. They can also add data, which is really annoying for nodes to deal with. They can also bloat the UTXO set, which is really annoying because it just makes it incredibly far slower to sync up a node when you're first firing up. But now OpCat gives them a new one, which is they can fill blocks up with computationally expensive stuff without much blockchain footprint. So what does that mean? It means you get a new block and it takes you 25 minutes to process the block, to verify everything that happens within the transactions within it, because there's some incredibly complicated script inside a thing that's a tiny transaction that's only a few hundred bytes or whatever. But OpCat allows you to put so much stuff in that it becomes cheaper to troll the network that way. So I'm Udi. I make some OpCat transaction that's super complicated. It cost me $4 to get the transaction in the blockchain or whatever. And then I've just made every node spend half an hour figuring out how to process that block rather than 3 seconds.
Okay. I'm sorry. I do have to get going. I've been live for like 3 hours.
Yeah,
and like this is really bad. Like, should I be like how like this is way worse than I think it was easy for me to figure out the right side on the user activated soft fork side, and I knew it was going to succeed. This is kind of scary because it seems like Bitcoin Core doesn't give a shit on what's going on, and they're not helping the situation. So unless Ocean Pool secures 20-25% of the mining hash rate, this is a problem. This is like, man, is Bitcoin really ready for this? And that's one question. How concerned should we be? And should people start cashing out in full at the next cycle top? Because I think we'll make it to another cycle top. But this makes it debatable if there'll be another cycle top after this one. And the other issue is, why are people like Udi, Eric, and what's his name, Lop doing it? Is it like for the money? I mean, are they just evil people? Are they stupid? I don't think they're stupid. What is their motivation for potentially destroying Bitcoin's decentralization?
Short-term fiat profit. Udi personally made 600 Bitcoins from the Taproot Wizard scam. That was the last I heard. I don't know. It's probably a lot more than that. That might just be quantum cats as well, but that's a lot of money. If I offer you 600 Bitcoin, are you going to consider it if it means creating a massive problem for all the nodes on the network? Are you going to consider it?
It depends. If it leads to the destruction of Bitcoin, I wouldn't consider it. I wouldn't even think about it twice.
All right, but you might be able to rationalize it to yourself and say it's not that bad. We're making Bitcoin fun again because you don't understand the importance of the nodes. Like I don't know. Money makes people do
It's
stupid
similar
things.
to what Richard Hart went through. He went on a long trade with Bitcoin and got wrecked, lost his money, and then he decided that he was just gonna make a make a shitcoin and profit off it because that's what everyone else was doing. And I think it's similar. I think Udi got wrecked with the bear market, and this was his way of lashing
Yeah,
out.
but Motors, but it's not similar, right? Like Richard Hart created a separate shitcoin. His shitcoin wasn't affecting Bitcoin's decentralization, right? Well, like Richard Hart was never going to endanger the Bitcoin protocol, but these idiots are.
Yeah, unfortunately, I call it hyper
So
shitcoinization.
they're so it sounds like they are significantly more evil and worse human beings than a Richard Hart.
Of course, shitcoins and Bitcoin are hard to separate in the public consciousness, but we just about did it. And that's where the toxic maximalist meme came from and the laser eyes and all that stuff. Shitcoins on Bitcoin is way harder to draw a line between. And that's what we're at now. So you have the ability for everyone to come into Bitcoin and get wrecked on some token called Sats, which is not the Sat. It's just a token called Sats that's actually a BRC20 token that isn't the actual Sat. Do you think these people are ever going to come around
And
and
there's another one called Bits, which is not the bits in Bitcoin. It's actually the
Right.
same thing. It's a BRC20 token. They're playing both sides against each other.
Well, they're scamming on every level, right? There's that sort of scam the newbies and get them into Bitcoin. Tell them that all the scams that happened in crypto aren't possible because it's Bitcoin and Bitcoin is somehow scam proof. They're using that narrative against us where we were like, crypto's a scam, Bitcoin's the real thing. Now they're putting the same scams on Bitcoin and telling everyone they're just as, they're right. The laser-eyed maxis were right because then NFTs on Bitcoin can't be a scam, right? Like, so there's that, and that's trivial and easy to understand, but there's the degradation to the actual network, right? Miners aren't making money. They're getting paid to attack nodes right now. That's fucked. And we've had a situation with miners before where they've acted against the interest of nodes. And we won, the nodes won, and the miners lost. But we're in that situation again right now, but there's so much money being thrown at the miners that it's impossible to get any signal out there versus all this noise. And it is literal noise, it is literal spam. So when it comes to your perspective on it, no, I'm not selling any Bitcoin. I'm not going to try and time any top or anything. You might because you have better intuition about the market than I do. But it's not like the dollar is any better. And I live in Canada, so anything else I buy that's confiscatable, I don't trust having any sort of permanence. I'm not going to buy gold or anything like that. I think Bitcoin's going to be all right. It's just going to suck in comparison to how good it could have been. That's the sad truth. It's going to be a million times better than what we had before, but it's going to be lame. That's I think, and it's just going to mirror the internet again. Like the internet sucks when it was supposed to be the best thing ever. Everyone just uses centralized, big data platforms that are more powerful than governments now. They're abusive. They sell all our private data. They're deplatforming people left, right, and center. That's what the internet is now, and it sucks. But it's still better than not having the internet. That's basically how I see it.
So McKenna, so let me ask you this then. I should probably save this for the halving stream. We'll have a lot more views. We'll probably rehash this topic.
Yeah.
So Michael Saylor now owns over 200,000 Bitcoin and is turning his company into a Bitcoin, analytics company. And he's done all this work on explaining how the Bitcoin mining system is not a danger to the government and all, it's not dangerous for the environment. And that's valiant, right? But how aware is he of this problem? Because he is now the single most invested person that seems to still be on the right side because, like, we sure as hell ain't going to convince Block 1 and their 160,000 Bitcoin to do anything, right? So when is it time to make sure Michael Saylor is aware of this problem, and for him to maybe part with 25% of his mining, with 25% of his Bitcoins into a mining operation that helps prevent this, because he's most invested. And if he doesn't protect his 200,000 Bitcoin with potentially spending 20, 30,000 of those Bitcoin on a mining farm with like Ocean Pool or his own Ocean style competitor, or self-mining and not mining these spam transactions because he doesn't need that extra money, when is someone like that gonna be brought on board and made to understand that this is a problem?
Right. So, yeah, my thoughts on Michael Saylor are he's, as you say, he's incredibly invested. And I like to think he's in it. You know, his heart is in it, and he's a good actor. And he's not in it for the gains and all that stuff. I like him. I'm inclined to be, well disposed towards the guy and not there's conspiracy theories
I mean,
around.
I know Odell is giving him shit right now.
Well, look, I'm not happy with Odell. Like I've got some thoughts on this, and I'm pretty sure I'm the only person that has the perspective I have. So it's worth me elaborating on it a little bit. I'll try and be quick. So, Odell, first after Ocean's launch was like, this is a censorship pool. He took that back. About a week later, was like, I just spoke to Luke on the phone. I believe Ocean is doing a good thing for the Bitcoin network. So I appreciate that. Then about a month later, he said Swan has all this money and they're not telling anyone what they're doing with it, and I don't trust them. Turned out Swan was making like a $20 million mining business that they were like waiting to surprise everyone with, and I knew what was going on there, and it was
Well, okay,
ridiculous.
so in his defense, he is an investor in Swan, and he should have known what is happening with the money.
Right. Okay, that's you're right about that. I can't defend that. I don't know why he wouldn't though, because everyone I knew at Swan knew about that. But maybe not their why would all their employees know but not their investors? That's weird to me.
Either that, or he should have known. Maybe he didn't read the emails. Maybe he talks too much and they didn't tell him, like for whatever reason, right? Because he's an investor in Swan through his fund, he should have been aware what they're doing with the money.
So that's a good point, and I'm actually going to ask about that because I don't like, I work for Start9, now I work for Ocean. I know about investor emails. You tell them what's going on, and they're well aware of it. And people on your board are bound by, confidentiality as well. So that's very strange that they would. That's a little ambitious, I think, to spend tens of millions of dollars on mining and keep it secret from your investors. Though at the same time, why would anyone be unhappy about it? It's an investment back in the Bitcoin network, and it's going to make them a lot of money. So I didn't really get the animosity there. To round off my point, Odell might have been sensible to say, "Oh, all right, it was nothing," when they came out with it, and that didn't happen. Then the Sailor thing, that seems like it accurately happened, and Dorsey backed it up, where he said, "I will crush this company if they invest in the core devs." So anyway, back to the point on Sailor. My perspective on Sailor is it's nothing as sophisticated as what I'm talking about. It's simply, I have, as you said, Tone, 250,000 Bitcoins. Do not fuck with my money. Stop coming up with new features. Stop doing weird stuff and leave Bitcoin alone. I think that's basically his perspective on it. It's definitely
But that's not a bad perspective, right? Considering, like, look, I really like Adam Back and I really like Blockstream and I still wear their sweatshirt.
but you don't want simplicity, right?
But I'm not happy with some of the shit that the core devs do either, right? And I have no problem with locking up Bitcoin because clearly in hindsight, Taproot might have been a bad idea that we were all behind.
Taproot is a good idea. It just needs people to update the spam filters to include TapScript. And if we could do that, it wouldn't be stupid. It's only because they're afraid of cleaning up after their mess that it looks like a bad idea. But actually, that is part of the psyop of it. Calling themselves the Taproot Wizards to discredit Taproot, which it has the effect of doing, makes people scared of all future upgrades. But look, I understand caution around soft forks, and I understand, skepticism and caution around, ETF-funded core developers. Like, this is not good, right? Like, this is how you. I was writing a post this morning, and I didn't post it because it just ended up being too long. But how you end up with the science, trust the science, is that situation is created by corrupt medical establishment that's getting money from places it shouldn't get it from. So if core developers are getting funded by ETF boys, that's not a good situation. And if they're coming up with adventurous upgrades that put Michael Saylor's investments at risk, I get it. But you also can't just leave Bitcoin alone because it doesn't, it's full of bugs and it's not going to work on future operating systems. There is a genuine need for janitorial work to always happen on Bitcoin. It's software. It needs to move with software as things develop. That's not just bug fixes, that's just housekeeping. You can't abandon that completely. Bitcoin is not finished and it never will be. It's not a structure and you build it and you just leave it alone. And even Michael Saylor's head, you might have built it up to be that. But this is my like real basic contention with Saylor is that he understands what Bitcoin is more better than pretty much anyone I've ever heard. But he doesn't have much of a sophisticated understanding around how to keep Bitcoin with those same qualities. Because if you don't know how to handle it, it can degrade and turn into a shitcoin in 5 minutes. That is where the complication lies. So you can't just say Bitcoin it's perfect, leave it alone, because it literally doesn't work. You actually have to maintain it and you have to keep it moving forward. Like mining is a perfect example. Stratum V1 is terrible. The pools are completely centralized and they're getting worse. Bitmain is running the entire show. There's one ASIC manufacturer responsible for 90% of the hardware. It's closed source. Like that, you can't look at that and say, yeah, it's perfect, because it's not. It's not good enough. So, yeah, that's basically my answer to it. Is I've spoken to Saylor like 5 or 6 times. Every time I speak to him, I can't get a word in edgeways because I really want to speak to him about this stuff and tell him, hey, I think there's some issues, but I can never get like he's such a he's like an alpha billionaire, right? So he's sitting there telling me, I've got this new thing where we can hash people's identities together in an organization and put that in an op return and all this stuff. And I'm like, all right, okay, sounds cool, but can I explain this thing to you? And I never managed to get a word in edgeways. So I don't know, maybe next conference when I run into him for whatever reason, I can maybe broach some of this stuff. But I also don't want to go crying to him either. He might have a
I'm
lot of
trying to
Bitcoin.
mute this and I'm struggling.
What are you trying to mute?
Hold on. Let me try again. Fuck me. Hold on. All right, got it.
Yes, I think Sailor's genuine. I would like to talk to him because at one point he was going on about. I remember Surfer Jim coming up to me at Unconfiscatable back in. What? No, hold on. What is the Vegas conference? Was it Unconfiscatable or Understanding?
Unconfiscatable.
All right, good conference by the way, everyone.
Thank you.
Um,
Yeah, so speaking of understanding, I already spoke to Giacomo and Adam. They're interested. I have a venue. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be in the Caribbean. And there will be a 3-hour flight from Miami or a 2.5-hour flight from Houston.
okay, I think I know where it is.
It's not in El Salvador.
I know. Cool. I mean, do you want my buy-in now?
What?
Like, do you want me to commit to come into it, help get the ball rolling?
I mean, your picture is on. Oh, wait, I'm not screen sharing. We don't have a date yet. So probably not, but you're there as a past speaker already. And I need to get BTC sessions. I've messaged him, but he's not replying. He hasn't seen my messages. I'm going to track him down.
DMs. He never DMs me back sessions.
I'm going to track him down.
Yeah.
I have to find out. I mean, it's so hard to get speakers, man. Like I messaged Adam and Giacomo, and I literally said, look, the last fucking thing this world needs is another Bitcoin conference. But I am thinking about bringing back Understanding Bitcoin.
I think you should. I'll try and push Adam to do it if you want.
Oh
He's
no, Adam's on board, and so is
okay.
Giacomo. But
All
I
right.
really want Ben, because this conference is made for Ben. I'll let him make the agenda. I would like for this to be a 3-day hands-on education.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be completely free so that I can finally learn how to use Noster and Lightning
Nice.
properly.
Yeah, Nosta's not super hard, man. Lightning is getting easier. We're about to roll out Lightning payments on Ocean, which is going to be great. But they're not going to work the way people expect, which is a little bit funny. I think you should do it. I'd like to come to it, depending on what the date of it is, and if because I've got a lot of conferences this year.
Right. So the earliest possible date is second week of December.
When's Mining Disrupt again?
Mining Disrupt is in a month or two. It's in June.
Oh man, that close?
Yeah.
All right. We might have. I don't know. I probably shouldn't say that. So, yeah, I'm not trying to. I'll go back to 10 minutes ago. I'm not trying to freak you out, man. Bitcoin's gonna be fine. It's just we can't be complacent with it. Like
No, this is concerning, right? Like I completely have distanced myself from Bitcoin like code, from Bitcoin development. I'm like, all right, Taproot's in. That's the last
Yeah.
thing. Bitcoin, I don't want to be involved in this. Like I guided people through the user activated soft fork. I've done my lifetime deed to to help Bitcoin, on the right path. I was minorly vocal in getting Taproot in, but I thought I was done. I thought I was done with, Bitcoin development directions and trying to explain it to normal people. I really thought that other people would be able to do a better job than me on this. And I'm learning about this from you. I'm crunching the information in real time. And I have Bernoulli saying Tone is absolutely correct. I'm like, well, I literally have thought about this for 15 minutes. And like, if I can figure it out, why can't, most people? It just drives me nuts sometimes at the idiocracy around me.
It's fucking retarded, man. Well, the worst thing is that Bitcoin Magazine basically went and they set up UTXO management, right? And they're investors in the Taproot Wizards, so they were starting to push that from the off go, and that messed everything up because people trust Bitcoin Magazine, and they should because they've done so much good work and they have so many good people working for them, but they're full of shit, and that led a lot of people astray. That's the sad part of it. It's not hard. Like as you say, you looked at it for 5 minutes. It's just shitcoinization of Bitcoin. All it does is disrespect the nodes, undermine them, make it all about earning as much money as possible in a short time frame, and undermine the long-term future and health of the network. It's all pretty basic stuff. If you have like a solid understanding of why the fork wars went the way it did, you can look at this and just see it's all exactly the same situation. Some things have been flipped on their head, but it's just how you turn Bitcoin into a bunch of interesting bullshit hypey features that undermine the long-term health of it. It's just that. Like we've been here before. If you want features, that's what shitcoin is for. Bitcoin does not have features. It does one thing really, really well, and it refuses to do anything else. And it took us a long time to learn this because Andreas said the opposite. Andreas was like, currency is just the first app. Blockchain is going to change everything. That's what Andreas used to say, and I used to believe that until we just watched scam after scam after scam, and we realized nothing really does anything here. We're here for perfect money. That's it. Like, Roger, we're not even trying to make you able to buy a coffee every morning with it. It's not about that. It's literally just about having an unconfiscatable, uncensorable, uninflatable, unchangeable monetary policy. Like, these are ironclad properties, and I don't care if it lacks some feature like the ability to have NFTs or whatever it is that people want to tack onto the top of it to take away from the shitcoins. I mean, that's what they're celebrating it as. They're just saying this is how we kill the shitcoins. We turn Bitcoin into a shitcoin. Like, no, that's not that's not compelling to me. I said this on McCormack's podcast. I said Ethereum was a great idiot container, and now we've brought all the idiots over to Bitcoin, and now they want to do a fork. No, I'm not here for that. It's like I think we will win it, but it's just going to be annoying because we have to take it on ourselves to do it. You can't sit back for it. So, sorry, that's the bad news here.
I forgot who said it first back in the day, but somebody posted Ethereum is the great vacuum of stupid.
It's wonderful. It's the most unbelievably complicated thing ever. And it's midwit. It's peak midwit because midwits get distracted by their minds. And what will tell you something is bullshit is your gut. You look at Ethereum and you go, "That's bullshit." That's a simple gut reaction, and you're right. But if you have a midwit brain, you'll spend 15 years thinking about all the possibilities and all the interesting things and trying to understand this infinitely complicated system. Bitcoin isn't complicated. It's a really simple system. It's just very well designed money. It's hard and resilient. That's it. And that's all you need. You don't need any more than that. So the idiot container is really a midwit container. You saw Giacomo's thing with the midwit meme saying we need to flatten the curve. Did you see all that? Like his presentation on that? It was great.
Where did he do that?
I can't remember where it was. It was some.
Please don't say it unconfiscatable. That would make me feel really bad.
No, it wasn't unconfiscatable. He did a thing on what censorship is.
Right. Speaking of unconfiscatable, it's coming up in September. Honestly, I have barely been promoting it. I don't know. I am organizing this one myself. Mostly Mel is helping, so thank you so much, Mel. A couple of other people will be helping. I don't know if I'm ever going to reach out to any sponsors. This is going to be for the people, by the people. It's not going to be at a hotel. It's going to be at side venues. We're just going to have fun. I'm aiming for 100 people to show up and have a lot of fun at Unconfiscatable. I have dropped the price on Unconfiscatable. It is just a $300 event with a $250 carnivory dinner because food is gotten super expensive. And
that's not a lot.
Yeah, it's going to be very few people. Hopefully, the poker tournament will have 50 players.
You could raise the price of that carnivory dinner. I think the beefsteak was like $700 the last one I went to. So,
dude, how good was that carnivory dinner, man, at Unconfiscatable?
It was fantastic.
And I got to reach out. I want to rent the same place. And yeah, so this is just a fun time for me to play some poker and hang out with the dedicated fans that have stuck around for 3 hours listening to this stream. And Mechanic, I think it's time to get going, man.
Yeah, it is. I got to go and brush my girl's teeth. So perfect time to end it.
The youngest one, right?
Yeah, the 13-year-old can brush her own teeth. Well, she wears braces now, so it's not the easiest thing to do.
No, no, the joke was versus Joyce, not.
Oh, right, I see. Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't have any joke in response to that. She can brush her own teeth too. Yeah, man. Let's do a halving stream. That's gonna be great fun. I'll try and get.
I am gonna do a halving stream. Let's. I saw World of Rusty in the audience. He'll be back for a thumbnail. I am gonna do a halving stream. Maybe 12 hours. I'll send off the Zoom link to anyone and everyone. Mel's been going through the last halving stream that had 50 people. Sam Bankman-Fried was on it. I don't know if you remember.
Wait, they have 50 people on the stream, not watching. Wow.
On the stream, the last halving stream had 50 people at the same time in a Zoom, but the Zoom can only display 25 people. Man. So it was 25 showing with 25 more that Zoom just couldn't display.
Are you Keat pilled yet?
What?
Do you know what Keat is?
No.
So, you know Paolo Arduino from Bitfinex and Tether?
No.
So, I mean, one of the richest people in the world, like, but also a big Bitcoiner, right? Paolo runs Bitfinex. He's, I think he's CTO or CEO. I can't remember, but he also he had this thing called Hole Punch, and he I think they bought an app called Keat, and now it's a peer-to-peer chat app, and it's really good. But my favorite thing about it is high quality, because all of the like, middlemen things like Zoom and Skype and all that, they're super low quality. The minute you go peer-to-peer, it's really high fidelity. Like I've never done a video call like it where it's incredible. It's like watching an HD movie because it's just peer-to-peer. It works the same way BitTorrent works. I'll send you a link for Keat tonight, and we can have a chat on it. But it's straight up peer-to-peer. There's no server involved, which is pretty revolutionary, and I'm a big fan of it. You could do your stream that way, is my point. I know you're not going to do it.
The last thing I need is another messaging app. Holy shit! I can't even keep track of the ones I have.
Yeah, but this is peer-to-peer. Keat is genuinely a game changer. Like I was with Paulo in El Salvador, and I asked him about Keat, and he was like, "Let me give you a Vladimir Putin style answer," and he gave me the entire history of peer-to-peer technology, and debunked everything else, including Lightning, Nosta, all of these other things where he just will maintain that none of them are going to scale and none of them work right. You need the only thing that ever worked and still works is BitTorrent because of the way it was designed. Like all the other things went down, you know, Napster and LimeWire and Kazaa and all that. He explained the flaw in each and every one of them. It was like we finally invented something right by copying the way BitTorrent worked. Then you just literally cannot shut it down. Bitcoin works too because it's genuinely peer to peer. But chat apps, you know, all these bullshit like Mastodon and Nostr and all these like, none of them are going to work. And I actually totally agree with him.
Well, and this is why I got so I created my Mastodon account and I created this account and that account. I'm like, and this is why I never got on Nostr, because I'm tired of creating these accounts and like they're stupid. Like Mastodon was stupid from the moment I started using it. I can't believe Rodolfo was pushing it for so long.
Yeah, he hated it while he was pushing it though. I don't even within a few months I think he was done with it. And I think Luke's still pissed at him for closing the Bitcoin hackers instance. But Mastodon was always shit. It's written in like Ruby, dude. It's like it's just the crappiest piece of software I've ever used. Yeah, Keat is real, man. If it isn't Keat, it will be something that works the way Keat does. Everything else is bullshit. Like Telegram, Signal, all these things have servers, right? So you can always be kicked off.
Right.
So that's the end of it. Like, and self-hosted stuff like Simplex and Matrix and all that, they're a pain in the ass too, because then you have to use Tor, and Tor doesn't work. So
yeah, so they were using Keat. So this is what pissed me off, right? So the El Salvador Having Party had a Telegram group, and then suddenly that group got shut down because they moved it to Keat. And I'm like, I'm not installing another app. So I wasn't really connected to the people in El Salvador for the Having Party. People that used it said it was terrible.
Well, I mean, it's early. When it works, it's the best thing ever, but it's early, so it doesn't work super reliably yet. But I mean, it's pretty close. There's like an update every 2 days. It's not open source yet, which is an ideological blocker for some people, but it will be soon. I sent you a link.
Shoot me a link. I see you already did.
Yeah.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, check it out. It's
not
good.
Crazy optimistic, but yeah, I'm not gonna do it on live air. But guys, thanks for watching. I'm gonna get going. Unconfiscatable. Where this is definitely gonna be a topic, right? So let's do a debate on not a debate, but like I don't really want to bring Udi on to debate you on this one. But
no, I don't debate spammers. I debate people that think there's nothing we can do about the spam.
So let's put together a debate on what can be done about it, right? Like the different ways to solve. Well, we're admitting this is a problem. We're not debating if this is or isn't a problem. We did that at the last event with Dan Held arguing for this nonsense. And
I can't believe you did that. I can't believe
you can't believe he did that, or you can't believe I put the panel on.
I guess both. Just like, how did you shake Dan Held's hand, man? I know you're a fan of the guy, right?
I don't mind the guy, but again, Mechanic, this goes back to I have tried to stay away and ignore the Bitcoin, these kinds of debates, right? Like I don't care about ordinals. Like I'm done. Like remember when Eric Lombroso just like retired after the whole SegWit thing because it burned him out, right? Like I wasn't to that degree, but like after the SegWit and Taproot, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna focus on the financial stuff. I'm gonna focus on mostly that, like the financial summit stuff. So it hasn't been my focus, right? So when well, like I agreed to Dan Hell being a speaker, like I didn't even know he was into ordinals. Like I had no idea because I don't pay attention.
Yeah,
Like,
fair enough, man.
well, like I just learned on this stream that Jameson Lopp is on Udi's team. Like I had no idea.
Yeah, I don't even know that. I just saw the Taproot Wizard organization and he's in it. So maybe he was an advisor one day or something. But right now he's attacking testnet to stop the competitor Runes from getting in any blocks. So it tells me he's pretty invested. His testnet is not like nothing to throw hash rate at either. Like you need a few S19s to be able to find a block on testnet. So I don't know. That's not a lot to Jameson Lopp. Fair enough, but he's pretty dedicated. He's been doing this attack for hours now, maybe even days. Well, I'm not going to go down another rabbit hole. Yeah, we need to end.
Okay, last thing. Hey, Mechanic, you just said Scamurai enters the chat. Who are you referring to?
Oh, some guy trolling about filters. Is this Cortic guy? He's one of the.
Cortic's a good guy. He's just unfortunately, he's just a samurai sycophant. But other than that, he's a good guy. I like Cortic. I know him. I mean, I don't know.
Hold space. Maybe he's great. I don't know. Like Samurai is another. And I sat down with Rodolfo a few days ago. Let him take on the Samurai trashing because, like, getting in shit fights with Samurai is such a pain in the ass, man. These people are absolute children. So yeah, you should get not Rodolfo, but Junseth. You should definitely get him on the halving stream.
I'll try. I'll try. But yeah, hey, I will send you the link probably tomorrow. Like the Zoom link to join the halving stream. So you feel free to send it to anyone you feel is worthy of being on it. We can have as many people at the same time. I can handle it. I mean, I handled 54 years ago, but I had way more popularity on my channel. So it's before my shadow bans over my politics. But yeah, so we can have as many people as we can. So anyone you think is good for the stream, just shoot them the Zoom link.
Yeah, we'll do. And it's looking forward to it, man. Let's get off for real. Otherwise, I'm gonna be here all night.
Yeah, that's true. All right, guys. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all on the next one. Bye, guys. Later, motorist. Hey, you gonna do the scammies again this year?
Yes. Are we still on, or are we stream off?
We're still live. I haven't ended it yet, but
okay. Yeah. I wanted to talk to you privately about the scammies, but yeah, I'm all on board with the scammies. I had a lot of fun last year. But yeah, if you want to, there's a couple of things I wanted to tell you.
All right. So let me cut the stream then. Bye, guys.